There, hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 757. That is 757 with your host, Agostinho Zinga. That's episode 757. For those of you who are not bilingual like myself, I hope you're doing well wherever this live stream may find you, wherever this podcast may find you, wherever my voice may find you. I hope you're doing swimmingly well. I hope you're doing swimmingly well. How am I? All good, all things considered. All good, all things considered. Today's my day off, so I thought I'd squeeze in a quick little lunchtime pod for those of you listening. I'm going to be jumping out of this in 2 hours or so, and then heading off to the gym, getting my pump on, and then progressing on with the rest of my day. I've got a jam-packed list of things to do, and I cannot wait to do it. I cannot wait to do it. So let's get right into it. What's been happening these past few days? Not that much, actually. I'm not gonna complain. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna complain. Not that much. I haven't been the big social butterfly that I usually am in terms of going out raving every single day and partying and getting my face all sweaty and hugging strangers and then adding them onto Instagram and then trying to be their friend and all this malarkey. No, I'm not that pathetic anymore. I've kind of like chilled out with that sort of stuff. Right? I've kind of brought it down a couple levels and I'm chilling out and I'm having a good time. But as per usual, most of you would know there are some parties happening actually this week that I'm actually looking forward to maybe checking out. I'm not gonna lie, there are some parties happening this week that I am looking forward to checking out, and I want to just see what I want, see what the flipping lay of the land is, and kind of go from there. One of them in particular being, I think is it on Friday or something, or maybe it's on Saturday. Let me just double check on my RA app actually here on my phone. I think it might be Friday. Actually, no, it's Friday. Yeah. Actually, it's next Friday. It's not. Is it this Friday? No, it is this Friday. It's this Friday. Patrick Mason. The legendary Patrick Mason. I think most of you guys will know who Patrick Mason is. He's been quite well known on social media for the past, I guess a year or so, for some of his extravagant out there performances when it comes to being a real entertainer behind the booth. He loves to dance. He loves to take his top off and display his rather svelte and ripped body, and just generally be a be a real party rock star DJ-s type of person behind the booth, but more so a performer, I'd say, right? I don't think he'd probably agree with the sort of party rock star sort of like moniker. I think I've heard somebody, or maybe I'm the one that said that he was like the DJ Iggy Pop, and I don't really think he took that too well, so maybe he doesn't see himself that way, but I'm a big fan of him, just as in terms of the DJ visually, what he represents. I also love the fact that he came up during the pandemic. It kind of felt like I kind of discovered Patrick Mason during the pandemic, so it's been quite cool to see him basically evolve over the last few years and basically go from like being like a pandemic DJ who was playing, I say smaller gigs for lack of a better term, and now he's been playing at Printworks when that was still open. He's been in places like Ibiza a few times, so clearly he's kind of his star is really starting to ascend, and he's starting to become a real big deal. So it's pretty cool to see those pandemic DJs are kind of like evolving and kind of jumping on. I'm assuming so. His next step will probably be to go a bit higher than he is at the moment now and really try to ascend those type of levels and try and get as high up as he can to try and see how far he could take this DJ thing. And I have a feeling when it comes to Patrick Mason, my internal feeling is that I don't necessarily think he wants to be a DJ anyway. I honestly do think he wants to kind of be an all-round artist. That's my current feeling on him. Again, I could be wrong. I don't know the guy. I'm talking out my ass. I'm in my parents' basement. My hands covered in flipping Cheeto dust and shit. Pizza boxes on the floor. Kids screaming because they got no food. Wife wanting to run away. I'm a nobody. But from what I can ascertain online, I get the feeling that he wants to be more than just a DJ behind the booth. He wants to kind of be an entertainer, an all-round star, all this malarkey. So maybe in the next few years, we might see him put out a single. He might start singing. He might start rapping. He might start doing something in terms of being a bit more front-facing. But regardless, really good DJ. I'm a big fan of him. I'm also a big, really big fan of Tijana T. I think she's a very underrated DJ in the same way that I'd say a Josie Rebel from the UK is. I think Tijana T and Josie Rebel would actually be a very good back-to-back duo. If there ever was a time for me to put on a party and I wanted to put two people to play back-to-back all night long, I think I definitely would trust Josie Rebel back-to-back with Tijana T to absolutely smash it. So it's a really good lineup. Adiel was also on there. I'm not really the biggest fan of Adiel, to be completely honest, but still really decent lineup. Labyrinth presents Patrick Mason, Adiel, Tijana T happening over there at Fold on the 29th. As you can see, a bunch of tickets. Wow, man. Patrick Mason, well done. A bunch of tickets are really sold out. They're on the fourth release of tickets now. Fourth release tickets are what? Pre-entry before 11:30 p.m, £25, and then you've got all anytime entry. Sorry, I'm assuming between the hours of 11 and 6. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Fold last entry is 3 or 4 a.m. No, actually, Fold last entry, I think it's 3 a.m. So if you do get anytime entry, make sure you go there before 3 a.m. because if you go after 3, you will not get in. And from what I remember, they're very strict about that. They're strict about ID at Fold. They're strict about not taking pictures at Fold, which I fucking love. And they're also strict about if you come after 3 a.m., if you're at the ticket booth after 3 a.m., you're not getting in. It doesn't matter how much you beg. They're really strict about that, which is pretty cool. So I might actually go to this. I'm not gonna lie. I might actually go to this. So I'm considering actually going to see Patrick because I've never seen him play live. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big little fanboy. I used to send him DMs during the pandemic, asking about his glasses, about this, about that, and you'd always leave me on red. So maybe I could see him and be like, "Hey, it's me," be his little stalker. "Hey, it's the guy that was asking you about your fucking Bottega Veneta sunglasses. It's me. I'm here right now. It's me." Right? Maybe he will take that well. Maybe he won't. Who knows? But I might go see him play at Fold. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So that's happening on a Friday, and then there's another event happening on the Saturday. Now, I know a lot of you will be shocked at my admission about this, but I'm somebody that always I'm somebody that's always very strict. No, I'm somebody that thinks you should always be somebody. Does that make sense? No, I think in general, right? You should always see things with your own eyes. And you should always hear things with your own ears. So when people say certain things, oh, this person is crap live. That person's album wasn't that great. That single was rubbish. That music video wasn't that good. I'm always a big believer you should see it with your own eyes. So, Amelie Lens is one of the most divisive DJs within the EDM, techno adjacent, TikTok techno, electronic music dance area, I'd imagine, or industry or scene. Amelie Lens, maybe you'd say maybe some people might put SPFDJ in there because she's popular, or VTSS, or Charlotte DeWitt, and a few other people, right? You might all lump them in there. It's weird that they're all women, but, we move. But I'm really curious to see what Amelie Lens is like, what she's like in real life. Because I've never seen her in real life. And the funny thing was, the other day, actually, I was going through my phone and I happened to find a clip that I screen recorded, I think for someone's Instagram stories during the peak of the pandemic when all the play graves were happening, right? And when all the play graves were happening, one of the biggest play graves that was on at the time, party promotions, was this collective called Possession. And they were out of Paris, specifically, I'm assuming. And they were doing some really cool parties in some amazing locations all around Paris, like usually around the outskirts, right? In like the kind of hoods. So like in factories, outdoors, open air type of stuff. And they would look really sick. They were big, large-scale productions too. It wasn't like they just put some speakers up in the car park. They were going crazy with the lights and shit. It was pretty sick. But unfortunately, Possession started really well and then it fizzled out very quickly because I think the founders got done for like some sort of like, being abusive to their partners or something, the standard stuff, which is interesting too, because in that sort of like LGBTQ queer adjacent scene, they're very much staunchly against having outsiders in their sort of like scene. They want to make a party for them, about them. But then the weird thing about it is that they still have the same issues that all the normie raves have. They had the same issues around abuse, the same issues around exploitation, the same issues around harassment, sometimes even the grapes word. So it's kind of sad that seems to happen, but I guess it's a natural. I guess it's a consequence of nightlife. Because, you know, as my parents used to always say, nothing good happens after 9 p.m. And sometimes it's just what it is, isn't it? There's all these freaks outside, weirdos, horrible people. They just kind of, you know, all mixing together. And no matter what you do, no matter what your door policy is, no matter how much you pick or whatever, no matter how strict you are about the tickets, all this malarkey, you're going to get a cunt or two that's going to slip through the cracks, unfortunately. Anyway, possessions goes down. But during the peak of possessions, they were able to book some pretty sick DJs. And I saw a clip that I screen recorded for someone's Instagram story that featured Amelie Lens playing at one of the possessions parties. And I was like, rah, I remember this time. And it kind of sounded decent. So I'm not too sure if Amelie Lens is one of those type of people who, when she has a set that's very commercial, she goes and plays commercial music. But if she gets booked by like a smaller party collective, a smaller venue, maybe she goes to a scene that isn't that, you know, bait or whatever, maybe she takes a few more risks, who knows. So I'm curious to see what she does at Drumsheds, because I think the gig at Drumsheds on the 30th is going to be a mix of like, obviously her commercial, you know, crowd, her normie fan base, but I think it also will be a mix of like actual like ravers who want to see what she's like, who are as curious as I am to see what she's like to perform in a, you know, in real life. The only issue is that, from what I've been able to see online, Drumsheds as a venue is similar to Printworks. It's kind of soulless. It's really big. If I'm not mistaken, it's in a former IKEA building. So you can imagine, you know, what IKEA buildings look like. They're usually very, very big, very, you know, just wide and empty fucking warehouse spaces where they stock up loads of IKEA furniture. So they don't really make for the best areas to have clubs, especially if you want like an intimate sort of like environment and create sort of like a vibe in there. It doesn't necessarily work the best, but in terms of visuals and sound and shit, that shit's going to travel. It's going to probably sound and look amazing. But I'm really curious to see what Amelie Lens is going to be like at XL London, which is happening at Drumshed. So this is happening on the 30th of March. We've got the whole fling here. First entry's at 12 and it ends at 10:30. The good thing about this is because it starts at 12 p.m. and ends at 10:30, it means I can also go to a party after, right, on the Saturday. That makes it far more of an appealing sort of situation to go to. And I think the parties after, we have Boudica happening at fucking Fold again, so I could go Fold twice in 1 week, which is a bit gay, but that might be a situation. And I can't think of some other ones. There might be some other ones listed on there too, but the lineup is pretty good. The lineup on the 30th, you got Amelie Lens, you got someone called Al Iva, I'm not really too sure who that person is. Aisha, Alex Farrell, I don't really know. Clara Cuve, I'm okay with. She's decent. I quite like her. You got a back-to-back with Dax J and SPFDJ. That might be pretty decent. I feel like Dax J is sort of like fallen off recently as a DJ, but production-wise, he's always really there. But then recently, I saw a set of his. I don't know where it was. I'm not sure if it was a boiler room or something, and I was like, shit, he's back to his best. So maybe he had like a little bit of a blip. When I listened to a few of his sets, I was like, oh, it's a bit shit. But, you know, maybe he's come back again, so that might be interesting to check out. You got Ellen Alien, the fucking legend, so big up her. You got Fargo, you got Imogen, which I'm a big fan of. She's playing there. You got Koboyo, someone called Koboyo. You got Lokia. You got Milo Spikers. Some Nico Moreno. Oh, this is to be fucking good. Nova, Ugos, Raven, Theo Nasha, and somebody called VTSSS, who's obviously who I know. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm not gonna lie. I might give this a go. It's not something that I'd usually go to, and it might be fucking terrible, but I'm really curious to see what Amelie Lens is like in real life. I'm really curious to see what all the hype is about, and I'm really curious to see, is she as bad as the business techno tag that's been labeled on her? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of put her in the same category as like a Charlotte the Wit, but Charlotte the Wit is really trash. So I don't know if she's just trash as that, or if she's just a DJ that happens to occupy that business techno field, but is also a really good DJ. There's not a lot of them in that field, but she might be one of them. So I'm going with an open mind, and I might have to go there. But the ticket prices, oh God, the ticket prices are brazy. Last time I checked, I think they were like £50 or something, and I'm like, £50 to go raving without a drink, without getting a burger, without some nuts, without some crisps, right? Without some drinks. £50. These guys are bugging out. So here's the ticket prices, right? For XL London, happening on the 30th of March. Those open at 12. Last entry at 5 p.m., which is fucking crazy, by the way. You got a 4-hour window to come in. 4-hour window. You have to fucking rush in the morning. Imagine going to a rave at 12 p.m. and you have to get there before 5. Absolutely crazy, right? And obviously they got this stupid booking fee. I'm not sure what the booking fee is fucking for, but regardless, right? So the ticket prices are as follows. They've got a general admission ticket price here. Third release, $42.50 plus £4.25 booking fee. They've got another one, fourth release, $47.50 plus £4.75 booking. And then they've got one for pre 1 p.m. Who the fuck's gonna go there at 1 p.m? Probably me. Big up Wingus Dingus. Big up Wingus McDingus. Appreciate you, brother. Yes, big up Wingus McDingus. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate you. And big up the chat. Big up everybody in there. Big up Darsky the Flow. I see you. Big up Boronda 420. I see you. LB. I see you. Oh yeah. Big up Koila, my guy. Didn't see you there. Wagwan. Big up Christopher Burgess. I see you. Wagwan. Big up Elvo. Is it Evo Kazo? Evo Kizo. Whatever your fucking name is. I appreciate you. Thank you for growing. Thank you for joining me. And of course I see you, Grown Baby Golf. Thank you for joining me too. So obviously I'm gonna go for the ticket that is the $27.50 pre-entry because I'm gonna be cheap. But that's still 30 fucking pounds to go and rave. And I have to get there. So I have to wake up at like 11 or some shit. You know what I mean? It's like I'm going on a flight or something. I have to wake up super early to fucking go get showered, get changed, and then go and see fucking Amelie Lens. And she'll probably only play at fucking 9 p.m. anyway. So I'll be standing around for fucking 8 hours waiting for Amelie Lens to play at fucking 9. But regardless, anyway, I'll fucking check it out. So I'm really curious to go see. I'll go check it out. But the prices to go and flipping hang out at whatchamacallit at Drumsheds are crazy. There's a ticket price here called Drumshed Plus. That's £92. What the fuck is Drumsheds Plus? I don't know what that is, but who's paying £100 to go raving in London? I don't think there's a single club in London that's worthy of £100 ticket price. Not even Fold. Not even my fucking spiritual home, Fold, is worthy of £100 ticket price. I don't care if they had a rave on from like Friday to Monday. It's not worth it. And we shouldn't expect it to be paid that much money anyway to go for a party. But regardless, it is what it is. I'm eager to check it out. It's going to be fucking amazing. It should be amazing anyway, especially considering the lineup. There's a few people on there that I would love to see. Of course, Amelie Lens. Of course, Stack J, SPFDJ will be good. Ellen Alien, Imogen will be sick to see. Nico Moreno will be sick to see. You know, VJ Test may be good sick to see. So I'm curious to see Wagwan. I'm curious to see Wagwan. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see how it all flipping plays out. But it should be an interesting situation regardless. It should be an interesting situation regardless. And then moving on from that one, I was also kind of keeping an eye out of that stuff that I was talking about on the previous podcast regarding Yuriy and Rylee. So as most of you guys know, Mo1st Cr1tikal, also known as Charlie, did a reaction video about it, and his video, last time I checked, was on like 1.2 million views, right? Which is fucking amazing because I've been quote unquote covering some of Yuriy's crashout since the beginning, as most of you guys will know, and it was always kind of like our little, you know, dumb thing that we kind of check on because who was Yuriy at that time? He was kind of somebody loosely associated with No Jumper. Outside of that, if he wasn't really clocked in, he didn't really know who he was. So he wasn't like a famous dude anybody would care about. But the crashouts were fucking entertaining, especially on stream to react to. Especially the ones where they go on holiday, where they're in Amsterdam, the one where they were in London, you know, the stuff that happened in America, like just crazy crashouts between the both of them where they clearly weren't able to communicate. They clearly were both quite insecure, clearly very codependent. Crazy situations. So it's amazing to see somebody of Mo1st Cr1tikal's stature and level and fame be able to take that story or be able to take Yuriy's kind of crash outs and put it on such a big platform, and now everybody's seeing it around the world. It's fucking amazing. I used to pray for days like this, right? That people would be able to see how much of an idiot and how much of a shitty boyfriend that guy is. Or just forget an idiot, just how much of a pussy he is as a man. Forget the shitty boyfriend thing. I think we can all be shitty boyfriends, but just as a dude, he's just like the worst type of dude, right? Cool. Regardless, the response to it has been fucking crazy. Yuriy has obviously went on a stream. I'll probably talk about it another time. And he did open his heart out, or pour his heart out regarding the whole situation. He did explain that he apologized to his girlfriend Rylee. To be fair to Yuriy, the thing that I've learned, which is kind of sad for him, that crash out didn't happen the other day. It happened like 3 or 5 days ago. You know that? Allegedly, that crash out happened like 3 or 5 days ago, but you know how the internet works. Like, it somehow it happened to jump on that cycle algorithm wise, and it kind of popped, but it didn't happen recently. So it happened recently, but not like the other day recently. So he must be distraught by that, because obviously they've kind of moved on from it, and now the internet kind of, started it all up again. So I thought that was pretty funny to see, obviously, Mo1st Cr1tikal react to it. But one of the saddest things about it was reading the comments. And again, take this comment with a pinch of salt, but reading the comments was really sad, because a lot of Rylee's actual friends from school, from past work, were commenting on Mo1st Cr1tikal's video and talking about how sad it was that she's in that situation, and basically lampooning and, really ripping into fucking Yuriy, rightfully so. But one of the comments I thought that really stood out was this comment here that somebody posted on the No Jumper subreddit. Now, I'm going to read it to you, right? It was left by a person called World Peace Darren. And it said the following: I grew up with Rylee. We went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together. She was always super nice, respectful. Out of all the girls who were not nice or for the streets, Rylee was a rare diamond. She grew up with Disney. When she wasn't working hard on her homework, she would volunteer with children and dress up as different Disney princesses with kids who had cancer and things like that. Rylee is a good girl. I had hoped that when she dated Yuriy, or whatever the fuck his name is, by the way, this was like her first boyfriend, that he would treat her right and she would be happy. Then for 5 years, I watched Rylee get taken for granted and used to prop up for used as a prop for Yuriy. For the last 5 years, I've been hoping that she would dump the dude. Now I see her being treated bad on this live. It continues. On this live, well, sorry, all because she filmed one random video in high school talking about nothing. Literally, maybe 4 or 5 people saw the video, and now Yuriy is publicly shaming her. I really hope Rylee dumps him. And thank you, Penguins, for bringing this to my attention. I had always wondered what happened to one of the only few nice girls from my hometown. Sad to see she's being taken for granted by some Russian dude. I hope Rylee sees your video and realizes she is a star and can start her own YouTube channel, and she doesn't need to be with such a negative man around her. The really sad thing about this is that I think this is a classic kind of case of, like, unfortunately, some of us peak at high school. And I think sometimes it's really sad, because I think this situation with Rylee is only getting attention, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Don't kill me for this. Or if you're going to kill me. I don't give a fuck. But this story with Rylee is only getting attention because Rylee's attractive. If Rylee wasn't attractive, people wouldn't give a fuck. But because Rylee's attractive and Yuriy obviously isn't, right? People kind of have this weird feeling of like she deserves better. They feel like they could give her better. They feel like Rylee's punching above his weight and he shouldn't have that kind of attitude when he's ugly and shit and a dweeb. I get it, cool. But the sad thing about it is that for the most part, I know from my experience in school, a lot of the really pretty girls that a lot of us boys were super bothered about and we all kind of like were obsessed with, and we'd all try and kind of ask out and we'd all try and talk to and holler at, most of them turned up to not amount for much out after school. Like their lives after kind of like middle school, high school, college and shit didn't really amount to much, unfortunately. And I've always wondered why that was the case. Why is it the case that the people that you remember when you were in school that were just stunning to look at, people that you thought, oh my God, this person's going to be a TV star, they're going to be a presenter, they're just going to get paid to just look good because they look good from when we were young, or they just look like an adult or whatever it may be, somehow don't really end up kind of fulfilling their potential. But then the people that you didn't look at, the girl that you kind of spoke to rudely, or the person you disregarded, or the one that you called an ugly duckling, then kind of blossomed into this beautiful kind of princess queen person who's now doing amazing things and whatever it may be. I've always wondered why that's the case, because I can think of one particular girl who was one of the kind of hot girls in our school. After, I think just when I reached college or something, and I was like maybe 17, 18, she already had 4 kids by then, by like 3 different dudes. And I was like, rotted. Like her, and again, she was one of the rare ones, like super attractive and also incredibly smart, like across all subjects. So her entire kind of academic career was basically halted the moment she had her first kid. And of course, by the time the 3rd or 4th came out, it was already over, and she had kind of to transition into being like a full-time mum. But I'm also wondering, is this such a bad thing to peak in high school? Because I'm thinking to myself, like, at least you had a peak. Because some of us don't ever get to have a time where we get to kind of bask in the light in the light of the stage, we get to bask in the adoration from people around us, our peers, people that that we know and love, or whatever it may be, our colleagues. Maybe there is a utility to peaking in high school and having that moment where, like, you can remember fondly in your old age, oh my god, man, I was hot stuff back in the day. Oh my god, all the guys were after me. Oh my god, I used to get all these opportunities. I was getting flown all around the world for competitions, for this, for that, for cheerleading, for ballet, blah blah blah. Maybe it's quite good to actually peak in high school, because at least you had a peak. And then when you're older, you can kind of settle down and you can kind of be okay with the transition. Because I think the saddest thing is when people peak in high school, but they don't let go of that high school persona. Like, a classic example is, what's his name? Bert Kreischer, right? Bert Kreischer is like an adult frat boy. He's never been able to kind of let go of this image of himself as being like the party monster, right? He had the article written about him in the Rolling Stone, and he just hasn't been able to let go of that kind of image of like the #1 party guy in Florida, blah, 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 blah. And it's really ridiculous. It's really kind of sad to be that frat boy, to have that frat boy persona when you're in your mid-50s with like 2 kids and a wife. But I think having that frat boy persona and being known as that party boy when you were between the ages of like 17 and 25, and remembering that in your old age is actually good for you, because at least you knew you lived a life. You lived a life worth living. You had a moment in the sun. You had a moment when you were really popular. If you still live in the same town, you probably still know a lot of the people who still look at you fondly that way. You still get some winks from a couple people here and there. Do you know what I mean? Like, that, there is a utility to it. There really is. But I think the sadness with the Rylee situation mostly comes from people having this like Disneyfied vision of the future, where like the pretty girl just gets everything in the end. The story ends like in happily ever after, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the hottest girl in your school does end up with sometimes the hottest girl in your school does end up with a Yuriy type character, an ugly, insecure, emotionally fragile, immature dweeb of a dude who's taken her for granted and advantage all over the gaff, across the internet, in fucking full 1080p. Do you know what I mean? That's sometimes the sad reality of it. But also, I feel like people should extend this kind of empathy to some of the uglies out there. Some of the fat and ugly people out there who probably don't get this type of empathy and sympathy from the public should get it also. It's kind of unfair that people are looking at her just because she's got, you know, a pretty face and a bum and tits and stuff. They're like, oh my God, it's so sad, I don't want to save her. It's like, bro, sometimes if people don't want to be saved, or they enjoy the situation that not enjoy it, if they're okay with the situation that they're in, you just have to let it kind of play out. There's nothing really you can do to kind of force them out of it. And as most of us would know, myself included, when you've got friends who are in a abusive relationship, there is literally nothing you can do. It is an unfortunately very helpless situation to be in as a friend. And maybe it's even worse when you're the person in it, because maybe you can look at yourself from the outside in, but you can't actually do anything. But it's really hard when you're a friend or a family member and someone's in an abusive relationship, because there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. They have to get to that resolution. They have to get to that conclusion themselves. It's almost similar to like somebody who's fat and wants to lose weight but doesn't know how to start. There's nothing you can do to get them to start. You can maybe take them out for a run. You can maybe send them all these fucking diet plans, whatever it may be. But until they decide to lose weight, until they decide to stop being fat, that's when it will change. But until that happens, it's not going to change. Same with the abusive relationship. Until they make the decision to walk away from that person, whatever, it's not going to go anywhere. So as unfortunate as it is for a lot of Rylee's friends to see her in this situation, until she makes that decision herself to step away and to leave and do something different, it's not going to change. Because, and I'm saying this to leave thing, not because of that one video, again, because I've been following this whole Rylee Yuriy relationship thing from, I'm saying the beginning, but from the beginning of when all the crash out started online. I've been kind of watching a lot of these things, reacting to it on my channel and stuff, especially on a random show, and it's been a consistent thing in their relationship. It's not like a one-time thing. So I know like Yuri's acting like it's a one-time thing, but it happens all the time. They get annoyed at each other. They wind each other up very easily. I guess more so in terms of Yuri's side of things. He's incredibly insecure when it comes to Rylee, what she wears, where she goes, who she talks to. Very, very odd, especially when you consider the amount of things that he's done on video. If you'd imagine if she did the same things, he would have blown a gasket. Do you know what I mean? So the crashes have been fucking crazy to see, and obviously the Mo1st Cr1tikal video going to 1.2 million has been mad. I'm not too sure the shame of it will do anything to change him. To be fair, I think, you know, he's just one of those people who has to kind of work on himself. I don't think you can work on yourself via somebody's reaction video. I think you actually have to go and seek help. So I don't think it will actually do anything in the long term. But maybe it will kind of stem the tide of him constantly abusing her, and maybe she can have a bit of respite and kind of chill out for a little bit because he's been on her head top for a while. But I just want to conclude this by saying that I don't think it's bad to peak in high school. I honestly don't. I think most of us don't really amount to anything. I go back to that quote all the time that Joe Rogan loves to kind of overuse about, most men live a life of like, quiet, what's that thing called? Misery or something, right? Basically, most men don't live a life worth living anyway. So if that's the case, and and some of us have the opportunity to have a moment in the sun or under the spotlight in high school, it's not a bad thing. You peaked in high school. Maybe you're not the same person you were in high school anymore. Maybe you've got a bit of a belly. Maybe you can't run a 40 and 4.5 anymore. Maybe you can't fucking dunk a basketball anymore. But there was a time when you could. There was a time when people were cheering your name, when people were excited to see you and shit. Remember that, savor that, because it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen all the bloody time. Next on the list, let's talk about this. So, I'm still thinking in the back of my mind how crazy it was to watch in real time on social media Diddy's house, Sean Diddy Combs, get searched by the federal officials. It was absolutely wild to watch it all transpire and play out online, because obviously most of us have been following this case for, whatever it may be, ever since the whole Cassie thing happened. But it's been pretty wild, especially someone like myself, I would say a fan of hip-hop, to watch all of this stuff flipping play out in real time has been flipping wild to watch. Wild. So let's quickly read this article courtesy of NBC that kind of breaks down the kind of latest kind of going on and what happened in the last couple of days and stuff. It says Sean Diddy Combs is a subject of federal investigation amid a wave of lawsuits that have been filed against a music mogul since November. A source familiar with the matter told NBC News on Monday. 3 women and a man have been interviewed by federal officials in Manhattan in relation to allegations of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and solicitation and distribution of illegal narcotics, firearms. And the source said interviews with 3 other subjects have already been scheduled. 4 law enforcement officials told NBC News that federal agents with Homeland Security investigations on Monday executed a search warrant at Los Angeles and Miami properties belonging to Combs. The sources says the warrant is out on the South District of New York, and obviously there you see a picture of all the police officers there going to Diddy's home and seizing what looks like to be laptops and hard drives and all this malarkey. HSI confirmed in a statement that it executed the law enforcement actions in New York as part of an ongoing investigation along with the teams in Los Angeles and Miami. So I'm guessing those are all the 3 locations of his homes, which is absolutely amazing, by the way, right? Imagine being able to own expansive, huge mansions in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. Diddy was living right, but unfortunately not so right. Homeland Security officials seized phones from Combs in Miami before he was scheduled to depart for a trip in the Bahamas. According to 3 law enforcement sources familiar with the warrant, Combs was in Miami area when the authorities executed the searches. Sources say it's not clear if Combs made the trip as planned. Representative of Combs did not immediately respond to NBC's request to comment on Monday. So again, a real crazy situation that's transpired. For myself, mostly because I've kind of been a big fan of Diddy in terms of what he represented, in terms of being like an intern that sort of like was able to kind of, scrape and claw his way up to the very, 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 very top of culture, become a mogul, become a legit entrepreneur, become a real kind of icon in music and culture overall. But there was always this kind of like, I won't say dark energy, but there was always kind of a bit of a dark cloud around him when it came to the party stuff. And it kind of made me think in general, is there ever a possibility for somebody to be into the party shit, to be a bit of a freak boy, but not do illegal fucked up shit to people? Is that ever possible? Can you have freak offs? Can you be into like, drinking fucking, water, drinking Ciroc sprinkled with Molly every other day, doing lines off of fucking strippers' bums without being abusive, without being manipulative, without harassing, without raping? Is that actually possible? I'm wondering, is it actually possible to do all that stuff with consenting adults without stepping over the line? Or is that just the nature of that game, a nature of that kind of scene where you keep pushing things, you keep pushing things, you keep pushing things, and then it gets to a point where sometimes the actual next step for you to actually get some level of like satisfaction from that situation is to do stuff without people's consent. It's to do stuff with, under duress. It's to do stuff with a threat of violence, a threat of whatever. Maybe that's the part of it. Maybe that's the unfortunate circumstances of where it kind of goes. It's really fucking sad because on one side of things, you think to yourself, what a crazy fall from grace. But on the other side of things, you think to yourself, think of all the victims who have been silenced all these years because of how incredibly powerful, rich, influential, Diddy is as a person and what he represents and who he's associated with and who he knows and the contacts and the this and the that and his history as well. His history of being an actual legit gangster. If you know, you know. If you know, you fucking know. Diddy is with the shits. Diddy is not a guy to be played with, right? So all those things in mind, can you think of the amount of victims that have been silenced, that have been kind of scared into silence, that have been intimidated, that have lived in fear for their lives legitimately all this time just because they went to a fucking party and they went to get a bit freaky and then they got obviously a bit crazy? Can you imagine? That's the really sad bit about it. And it's extra sad when you think about how he purported himself, how he presented himself. It's not like Diddy was like a sinister guy in public. Maybe towards the end, he did have that sinister kind of image, especially when you think about the Halloween outfits and shit, right? Batman, the fucking Joker shit that he did where he was really in character and he kind of looked a little bit tapped. There's even a video I remember of him doing it and walking in the street and he happens to bump into fucking Tyla, the creator, who's in like a pickup truck. And he's kind of looking at him smiling, but he's also looking at him a little bit concerned, like, rah, man, this guy is fucking tapped. You see Tyler, the creator, looking at him like, fucking hell, man, this guy's not all there. So clearly, towards the end, he may have been living his raps a bit too much, right? He might have been, really kind of doing a whole lot of method acting there. But the really horrible, dark shit about this is that towards the end, Diddy was trying to purport to be this, like, love guy. He even changed his name to Love. He was trying to talk about being like a guy that brought people together, a lot of Black Lives Matter stuff. That's why he ended up suing Diageo, which is another interesting theory. There's a theory out there. I don't know if you guys believe this. There's a theory that exists that allegedly this is a consequence of Diddy trying to come against the real, power makers out there. When he tried to sue Diageo, the owners of Ciroc and other kind of, liquor and kind of alcohol companies, and allegedly he was trying to sue them for some sort of racial discrimination thing, and the lawsuit was obviously gonna be in the millions if not in the billions if he ended up kind of winning that lawsuit. But because of all the sexual allegations and harassments and the rapes and obviously the lawsuit from Cassie, that lawsuit ended up kind of going away. But because he put the lawsuit through, people are alleging, the conspiracy theory is the powers that be kind of went to remind him of his position and put him back in his place and kind of push through that whole Cassie shit. That's the assumption, or that's the allegation that's kind of out there at the moment, which I'm not really sure if it's true. But regardless, absolutely wild to kind of witness this in real time. Such a powerful, influential figure being brought down like this, but also lets you question as you think about all the stuff that was going on that people weren't talking about. And you have to think about the silence too. The silence from the hip hop community has been deafening. From some of the big major figures who are usually always very vocal about talking out about societal issues, who are very vocal about talking out about harassers and abusers and grapers and shit. The silence from these guys has been deafening. No one wants to touch this with a 10-foot barge pole. They're all avoiding it, which makes sense when you think about, his obviously his reputation and shit. When it comes to business, when it comes to violence and shit, where people are legitimately still scared that he can put a hit on them. But maybe there is a situation at hand here where some people are scared that they also might be complicit in this. Because when you watch this video, this particular video here that I've got here, courtesy of The Guardian, right? Let me actually mute. Let me actually see if I can mute. I'm going to mute the video, right? But when you see this video here playing in the background, courtesy of The Guardian, what you see here is a very expansive and very luscious and almost beautiful looking estate that Diddy actually owns. It's actually wild to see how big that place is that he actually owns. It's absolutely crazy how cavernous it is, like loads of lush green grass everywhere, loads of pool area, people can kind of chill in. So clearly the type of area that you would assume a lot of people would be fans of kind of hanging out if they ever did go there and party. So clearly, I reckon a lot of people are keeping quiet about the situation because unfortunately they are complicit in this. And they don't want to talk about this because a lot of people went to those parties because Diddy has a very, very nice assortment of properties in Los Angeles, in Miami, in New York that are perfect. The perfect places to go and flipping, you know, party and have a good time and have a quote unquote freak off at. So this might explain a lot of the reason why a lot of people in the hip hop community have been oddly quiet when it comes to this situation. Because I can't remember a situation like this where people were so quiet and didn't want to speak about it, didn't want to lend their opinion, were kind of keeping their counsel, keeping quiet, doing the whole like let the facts kind of say what they facts say, blah, 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 blah. It's been kind of wild to see. I'm not going to lie. It's been absolutely wild to see this stuff play out in real time. And I'm curious to see what ends up transpiring because we still haven't got a real idea on what the charges are. The only other sad thing about this is obviously Diddy's kids were the ones that are getting put in cuffs when all this shit was happening, right? So Diddy's out here traveling around the world, allegedly in Antigua, trying to avoid the fucking feds, and then these kids are the ones that are getting fucking put in cuffs. That's pretty kind of crazy, right? And obviously, you know, I'm assuming it's precaution because they're executing a warrant and then obviously searching the properties and don't want anyone to kind of disturb their searches. So it makes a lot of sense in that regard. But the fact that he was able to jet just before the feds arrived is also maybe proof, if ever you needed it, that Diddy is connected. He might have got a little kind of insight from some of the people behind the scenes about what was going on and when that warrant was going to get executed, and he decided to kind of dip as soon as they flipping arrive, which is nuts in itself if you think about it. It's nuts in itself that Diddy has those type of connections where he has the feds on speed dial or some connection to the feds, so they're able to send him a text and give him a bit of a heads up, or maybe a lawyer, again allegedly, and let him know, hey, they're coming to get you. He jumps in his flipping black private jet and obviously zips off. From what I'm led to believe as well, people were tracking his private jet. I think last time they tracked it was in Antigua. And now I think there's an ability to scrub your data from the public records of jet trackers online. I'm not too sure why that's available to do, because you'd imagine if you've got a jet and, you know, it's going over international airspace, it should be available to be able to track, but I'm assuming there is some sort of thing you can do where you can kind of get your data kind of scrubbed for those type of places. But regardless, crazy situation, really sad to see. But like I said before, considering how open and expansive and amazing his properties were to look at from the bird's eye view, some of these helicopter shots, you would imagine a lot of people were at these parties, a lot of people that we kind of all know and love, celebrities, entertainers, artists, were all fucking there. And the fact that they, you know, were maybe all took part in it and all don't want to kind of speak on it, allegedly speaks to a lot of the dark shit that happens in the industry. But maybe, again, this should be a reckoning for all people, and we might reach this conclusion, a situation where maybe we'll start limiting some of these abusers and the shit that they do in obviously some of these parties, because people will be a bit scared about not wanting to be the next person that kind of gets scummed in these type of situations. The other thing that I saw online that was fucking wild, big up Milagro, Mob's World. She posted an alleged document here that was shared that allegedly is a standard NDA from Diddy. This is a standard NDA that Diddy allegedly gives to people when they come to his, I guess, apartment or maybe his parties or freak-offs. I'm not really too sure. I'm going to read through it because this is pretty wild, because I've never actually seen what an NDA is or what it actually looks like, but I'm assuming it's what we would assume it's going to be in terms of making sure that you don't record or speak about the things that you see here. But let's see actually what this NDA kind of sounds like. So this allegedly is Sean Puffy Combs' NDA, allegedly, from what people see here, courtesy of Mob's World. So it says here the following. This confidentiality agreement is made effective as of Friday, September the 9th, 2022, and on behalf of this person. The term "you" shall include you, your estate, each corporation, and other business entity in which you have ownership and a beneficial interest, and any of the persons and the entities owned and controlled by you and such businesses, and all of your respective heirs. Sean Diddy Combs, aka Puff Daddy, artist, privacy is high valued, and all efforts will be made to maintain confidentiality with respect to information and other material of any kind concerning or related to directly and associated with the artist, except for the information or material publicly intentionally disclosed by the artist. You hereby irrevocably agree that A, you shall not at any time use or disclose directly or indirectly to anyone any of the following information: any past, present, or future which concerns in any which relation to the artist, any artist parties, here we go, freak offs, or business activities, entertainment activities, financial affairs, or personal life. And all such information shall be deemed confidential, private, secret, sensitive, and kept by you as confidentially described. Let's continue here. It also says artist's sole exclusive property shall not be disclosed, removed, sold, or disseminated, copied, or otherwise, or exploited by, or behalf, or written by you. This is very extensive, isn't it? Fucking hell. Basically, don't talk about me ever. Basically, it's what this NDA says. Don't ever talk about me ever, right? This is a fucking NDA. You shall not and shall not authorize or facilitate any third party to, without the artist's prior written consent, which may be withheld or any reason, and give any interviews or write any or prepare, assist any preparation of any books or articles, make any remarks of any kind, or create any material of any media without limitation, confirmation, or denying confidential information related to the artist, to any use of by yourself, whether or not publicly disclosed by the artist, prohibited materials, you hereby irrevocably grant, convey, and transfer and assign to the artist worldwide. Wow. What? That's a wild line there, right? So you have to give him all the stuff that you do make. If you do, okay, I guess hand it over. I guess that's what it means. It continues here. Parties shall be entitled to recover any monies or benefits whatsoever received by or behalf of you. Fucking hell, bro. This is a NDA of all NDA. This is like a lock and key NDA. It continues here. The foregoing expressly includes, without limitation, communication appearing on the internet via blogging or social networking such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Without limiting the foregoing, you shall not, without artist's prior written authorization, A, tapes or any other recorded sound or image or any other materials of the artist and partners, B, copy, excerpt, or otherwise use or dispose of any artist or artist parties materials, including any property or materials in your possession, including without limited and your legal representative and heirs and successors and assignees, all shall promptly deliver possession of the artist in good condition. I love how they did mention TikTok, by the way. Interesting, right? No mention of TikTok. It says Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So I wonder, can you break your NDA on TikTok? Is TikTok exempt because it's a Chinese-based company or something? Is that why? Maybe that's why, because it's Chinese-based. I'm not too sure, but TikTok isn't listed on there. But regardless, you cannot talk about Diddy in the slightest. He's got a fucking rock-solid team of people who say, don't talk about me, shut the fuck up, keep your mouth absolutely stum. Another quick update here, courtesy of the Diddy stuff. We've got here a Diddy lawyer saying the following. The rap mogul lawyer says he's facing an unprecedented ambush. Let's quickly read this, courtesy of New York Times. A lawyer for Sean Combs, the hip-hop mogul, whose homes were raided by federal agents on Monday, called the searches a gross overuse of military-level force. That's true. That is a good point, because what actually came from those searches? No charges so far. There's no warrant out for his arrest, even though he wasn't there. You know, what did they really do? They just fucked up his house. Judging for the videos you see online, they fucked up his house, took some trainers and a couple of laptops and some tablets, right? But that's about it, really. So the lawyer for Combs says it was a military level of force and criticized them as nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made on civil lawsuits. Rah, Ted. The lawyers are really riding hard for him, right? There's no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by the authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained but spoke to and cooperated with the authorities. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs or any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way possible. That is true though, because I did see a picture or a video of Diddy at some party, and allegedly, according to Hello Yassine and a few other people, maybe that Jaram guy, I forgot his name as well online, allegedly what's his name? Flavor Flav was at the party too, and he literally saw Diddy but kind of blanked him. And Diddy awkwardly kind of saw him too and kept staring at him, but Flavor Flav wouldn't look at him either. So it kind of looked a bit sad, I'm not gonna lie, because Diddy did look a little bit disheveled. He looked kind of like lonely. He looked very paranoid. He kept checking his shoulders every time. So maybe Diddy had cooperated with the feds, cool, behind closed scenes or kind of closed doors, but he hasn't been living a free life. He's still been probably living with the looming threat of the feds being able to pick him up anytime. So maybe that's the case. But that video specifically for me was more so an indication of how far he starts falling when it comes to the industry. And it kind of reminded me a lot of, like, do you remember at work when like somebody gets fired or somebody's about to get fired and you know they are? It's almost like everybody kind of ignores them or pretends that they're not alive, because you have this kind of like this stink around you. No one wants to kind of be associated with you. No one wants to be near you because they don't also want to be fired off the back of it or think that they're loyal to you and whatever it may be. So it kind of looked a little bit like that, where everyone was kind of ignoring him and kind of acting like as if he didn't exist type of thing. Because it's pretty wild. I'm sure most of you have seen the video, but literally Flavor Flav is standing right in front of him, walks past him, talks to somebody else, doesn't turn around. Diddy doesn't try and tap him or anything, and just awkwardly stares at him and keeps checking his shoulders. So maybe there is something going on there. It continues. On Monday, armed agents from Homeland Security searched two of Combs' home. We know about that. The lawyer says as follows: this unprecedented ambush paired with the advanced coordination with the media presence. That's a very good point. The lawyer's making a really good point here. It did feel a bit like an ambush. Nothing of merit really came from it. No charges or of anything. And the media coverage was crazy. It was wall to wall. TMZ got pictures of the videos and pictures of Diddy, of the house being raided. They also got videos of the inside of it from the fucking body cams and shit. It was pretty wild how the media were in lockstep and arm with it. But to be fair, it wasn't LA. TMZ is basically the unofficial, spokespeople of fucking, the LA police officers over there. Oh shit, Coiler, sorry about that. I didn't hear you. My earphone was out. Bro, that Flavor Flav thing is AI. It looks like GTA 5. Oh really? I didn't know that. Big up Coiler. Thank you for the donation, brother. I didn't really know if that is AI. If it is AI, fair enough. But it looks fucking wild. It looks fucking wild to see fucking Flavor Flav, giving Diddy the fucking cold shoulder. Anyway, it continues here. It says, and it's nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in a civil lawsuit. There's no finding of criminal or civil liability with any of these allegations. Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name. On the same day as the searches, federal agents also stopped Mr. Combs at an airport in Miami area as he was preparing to leave with his family members of Bahamas, and took a number of electronic devices from Mr. Combs. According to a person with knowledge of the matter, Mr. Combs was not arrested, remained in the United States, according to that person. Oh, okay. So he's not on the run then. So this idea that he's on the run isn't true. His electronics were taken from him. The police saw him at the airport and let him go. So it looks like they're building up a case. They're leaving it out so he doesn't do anything crazy and kind of going from there. It continues. The raid was striking development of Mr. Combs, who's been on one of the highest profile figures in the music industry for decades and credited with transforming hip hop and R&B in the 1990s. So clearly there is something going on in the background. We don't know what it is because that's how investigations fucking work. And I guess we have to kind of wait and see how it kind of plays out. But to see this guy's house get raided, like considering after everything was going on, it's absolutely been wild, and I'm eager to see how it does actually end. Because damn, has it been wild. The other thing as well, which is really funny, is this article, again, courtesy of Mob Radio. So big up Mob World, obviously on Twitter. This screenshot's fucking hilarious. So allegedly Slim Thug has got into the conversation. I'm not going to play the video, but the kind of caption, it says as follows: Slim Thug chimes in on the Diddy and slams the black community for wishing on his downfall. And it says the quote, "We're losing another billionaire over allegations." So this is another kind of thing that kind of seems to permeate the African-American black hip-hop community, is that for some reason, they seem to always love to turn a blind eye at people's crimes when they have money. If you have money and you have fame, everybody can turn a blind eye to you. They can excuse anything that you do just because you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, you're a mogul. It means that everything that you do, even when it comes to exploitation, is somewhat justified. And if what Diddy's been accused of is true, if he's guilty of his crimes, the guy deserves to not be in prison. He deserves to be buried underneath a prison. If he's had an unprecedented run of 30 plus years where he's been abusing, manipulating, harassing, and downright raping people, he deserves everything that's coming at him and more. And the people associated with him who turned a blind eye to it, the people associated to it that facilitated it, they also deserve to get taken down. This is not something that is like this is not one of these kind of takedowns because he's a black man. This is a takedown because from what we've been led to believe in the civil lawsuits, he's a piece of shit, allegedly. According to those civil lawsuits and what we've been able to see and what he kind of settled on when it comes to Cassie, Diddy is a alleged piece of shit. And if that's the case, and he did anything criminal and he broke the law, he should face the consequences of it, and it should be kind of detailed so that others who, you know, want to do certain things can be dissuaded from it, and he'll be using an example as to how you can't necessarily always get away with some of these crimes. But I hate how some of these guys always love to excuse or love to be like, oh, we're gonna pray for him and do this sort of nonsense only because he's rich. Not because he's a good guy or because Simfuck has a personal relationship with Diddy or has known him for time. No, it's just because he's only saying this because the guy's got money. That's the only reason why I say this. And this is almost quite disgusting. In the same way that people were calling out the whole Ye thing, right? Kanye, when he was freaking out, people were calling that out and saying that, hey, you're taking advantage of the fact that you're influential, you got money, you're well loved and stuff, and just saying all this nonsense. But just because you've got money, status, and clout, all this malarkey, and you're famous, doesn't excuse you from being called out for your bullshit. And I think this is the same scenario. So I think Slim Thug needs to allow it and chill out, let the facts play out as it may. But just defending somebody based on their bank account is incredibly redacted. Incredibly redacted. If you're gonna defend them because you know them, that's one thing. I think you're well within your right to do so. But defending somebody solely based on the fact that they have a fat bank account is just one of the most crazy things ever. But it also goes to show that thing that girls say, where they say like boys are the biggest groupies, might be actually true. Men actually might be bigger groupies than women. Because the way some guys stand certain dudes because of their bank account, because of the women they fuck, because of the cars they drive is like, you know what I mean? It's probably more gay than guys having sex. I swear to God, it actually is. It's actually way gayer than actually two dudes fucking. How some dudes are like, you know, it's like the Andrew Tate stuff, right? How some men like adore and kind of worship that kind of type. Dude, like, why are you adoring and worshiping some like normal dude who's just like you, who just happen to kind of work out or figure out some like high level, high value male alpha scam thing? Like, he's no better than you. Like, come on, man, relax. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? Absolutely nothing. Continuing on, we have to talk about this. Absolutely heartbreaking news. Absolutely heartbreaking news regarding this bridge in Baltimore. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it, especially those of you guys based in the States. Absolutely horrible situation where unfortunately a cargo ship crashed into a bridge in Baltimore while it was being worked on, I think around 1 a.m. or something. Luckily in these circumstances, from what I've been able to read online, allegedly the signal to like say the boat was about to crash and the people inside didn't have the fucking control of it had gone out ahead of time, so the police were able to stop traffic crossing over that bridge, because allegedly that bridge is really popular. It's a 4-lane bridge. It crosses from one side of Baltimore to the other side of Baltimore, two different sort of areas, socioeconomic as well, so you can imagine how fucking busy it is. And obviously that port is obviously very busy, with Baltimore being a port state and shit. So they were able to kind of stop the traffic, but unfortunately there were people working on the bridge itself, and I think those are the main victims who have kind of suffered from it. So it is still tragic that the workers have lost their lives based on that cargo ship losing control or whatever it may be, or unfortunately, you know, based on some people's conspiracy theories out there, maybe being hacked or something. But this could have been so much worse if this happened during like a rush hour traffic and shit. Can you imagine the amount of kind of casualties we would have? Regardless, still a tragic situation. situation. Let's read the article here, courtesy of the BBC. Baltimore bridge collapse, 6 presumed dead after ship collides with the bridge. It says 6 people are missing and presumed dead after a container ship hit the landmark Francis Scott Key Bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore, causing it to collapse. The Coast Guard said that it had suspended its search and began a recovery effort. The bridge, which is more than 2.6 kilometers, which is 1.6 miles long, that's a fucking long bridge, was destroyed when a vessel hit the support. Officials say the ship suffered a power issue and issued a distress call moments before the crash. Boats and helicopters were part of the huge search and the rescue effort, searching for 6 missing people. 2 others were pulled from the water, one with a serious condition. There's one guy allegedly who got pulled from the water who didn't want medical attention. He just dusted himself off and went home. But I did read somewhere along the line, people were saying that you have, in perfect conditions, you have 1 hour to survive that kind of water and that kind of temperature. I think they said it was 47 degrees or something. Someone said you have 1 hour to survive. If you have the right clothes on, if you fall in a certain direction, if you're a good swimmer, you have up to an hour to survive. And that's in the perfect conditions. So imagine if it's non-perfect conditions, you're panicking, you've not got the quote-unquote right clothes on, like, you can die in literal minutes. I didn't know that was the case. Like, honestly, like, so fucking sad, man. It continues here. Rear Admiral Shannon Gilreath of the U.S. Coast Guard said in the evening that the remaining missing men were presumed dead based on the temperature of the waters that they had fallen into and the length of time that they'd been underwater. Authorities say that they were part of the construction crew repairing the potholes on the bridge the time the bridge snapped. The focus is now turning to the investigation into what went wrong, with the team of transportation safety experts hoping to board the stricken ship and recover its data recorder. Look at that, man. Look at how crazy that looks. Look at that. Look at how crazy that looks. Look at how crazy that looks, that bridge fucking breaking. Let's actually play. Let's see if this video can play. My computer's a bit slow at the moment. Let's see if it can actually play. But that bridge fucking falling down is absolutely tragic. So here's a video of it. I think the container ship approaching the bridge itself and it unfortunately fucking crumbling. The only really suspicious thing about it is that the bridge went straight to the supports and didn't hit anywhere else on the bridge. That's the only weird thing about it. Some people are alleging that they just lost control of it early on and they couldn't turn it back on course, which might explain why it kind of ended up the way it ended up. And unfortunately, the whole bridge came tumbling down. And I did feel kind of bad because I did kind of mock some woman for crying, but based on what I've been able to read online, that bridge is a real landmark in that part of Baltimore. People legitimately go out and kind of check it, and basically have a drink in the morning and kind of look out onto it. It's kind of a bit of a landmark and shit. And people are really attached to it. Obviously, it's a bridge that also connects one part of the city to the other part of the city. So you would imagine it is a bridge that kind of, is a place where people kind of transport themselves to go to work, to and from. So I can't even imagine how people are getting to work nowadays now that bridge is kind of gone now. It's really, really tragic situation. And obviously the lives lost is even worse. The Singapore flagged container ship Dali struck a support column of the 47-year-old bridge at 1:30 a.m. It had departed the terminal at Port Breeze at 45 minutes past 12 for Sri Lanka capital of Colombo. U.S. federal government agency said the vessel lost propulsion as it was leaving the port. The crew had warned Maryland transport officials of the possible collision, according to the unclassified cybersecurity infrastructure security agency report of the incident. Maryland State Governor Wes Moore said that he could confirm the crew notified authorities of a power issue, adding that the ship had lost power before smashing into one of the columns. So that was what actually saved a lot of people's lives. The fact that they lost power early on and then they were able to communicate that and send a mayday signal is what actually allowed people to survive. If not, it would have ended tragically. A number of vehicles, including one of the size of a tractor trailer, plunged into the water below. Baltimore Fire Department and U.S. Coast Guards and other agencies and the state of Maryland have been involved in the rescue operation. Baltimore Fire Chief James Wallace confirmed that 2 people had been rescued, One of them were transported to a local trauma center in a very serious condition. Mr. Wallace said that the tide was posing a challenge to the rescue efforts. Local officials said another huge concern of the rescue teams was the freezing conditions of the air temperature of about 3 Celsius, which is 37.4 Fahrenheit near the bridge. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott described the incident as unthinkable tragedy, adding that the focus right now should be on the people, the lives, and the souls, and the people in the water that had to get out, and the only thing we should be talking about. Mayor Transportation Secretary Paul Worthford said engineers were at the site determining the structural impact of the collapse. The other thing that's been quite disgusting to see, I'm not going to lie, the other disgusting thing that I really didn't like about this situation was hearing some of the reporters at the press conference grilling the mayor, the governor and shit about when they're going to rebuild the bridge. Can you imagine how insensitive and disgusting some of these journalists are, right? People have lost their lives. Lives have been destroyed because the bridge has been destroyed itself. And the thing that they're worrying about is when the bridge is going to be rebuilt. Like, bruh, like, focus on the now. Like, okay, the bridge is gone. Of course, it's a huge sign of kind of, it's maybe a huge symbol to the working class out there in Baltimore, maybe to business and corporations and shit. We understand. But in the moment, it's a tragedy. Actually focus on the people who have lost their lives. Focus on the people's lives who have been impacted for the worst going forward. Especially considering we're coming out of a fucking pandemic, how tragic that whole situation is. I thought it was absolutely very, what's that thing called? I thought it was very insensitive, very ill-timed, very ill-thought actually, and just downright just disgusting, really, to see journalists, quizzing the governor about when it's going to be rebuilt. Like, fucking hell, man. Focus on the people's lives that have been lost, for fuck's sake. Continuing on from that one, we got some more details here, courtesy of the BBC, regarding how the actual bridge itself collapsed. Let's actually read this itself. It says, early Tuesday morning, container ship crashed into the landmark Francis Scott Bridge, as you guys know, near the US city of Baltimore. What do we know about the bridge? The Baltimore Bridge, known simply as the Key Bridge, was opened in 1977. So it's been open for what, 50 plus years, right? It's been standing for 50 years. It's actually very beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. It's actually a really beautiful bridge. That's the bridge on one episode of The Wire. Obviously, The Wire being based in Baltimore. The actual bridge is fucking beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the images themselves on the other videos themselves don't really, kind of display how actually well designed it actually looks. But it's actually a very it's actually a very interesting marvel of engineering and design itself. It's actually very, very, very well designed. It continues here. The bridge was 1.6 miles long and spanned the Patapsco River and Baltimore Harbor. The river flows on the Cheapskate Bay, the largest estuary in the US. Wow, bro. So Baltimore is a real bay city, innit? A lot of money, a lot of industry must come in. That must explain why Baltimore has such a big drug issue, innit? Because there's a port there. So there must be so much drugs coming in through that fucking port. That explains why there's such a big drug issue there. But also, it must be really tragic people that live in Baltimore, because there's so much drugs coming in, there's so much business going through that port, but then there's not a lot of, like, it's not the most affluent city in America either, right? There's a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, a lot of homelessness and shit. That must be really fucking, that must be a real mindfuck of people that live or are from Baltimore. That all this business is around there, but you don't actually see it because it's all fucked up and shit. Police are all fucked up. People are all fucked up. Like, it's really kind of sad. I'm not going to lie. And Francis Scott Bridge, is described as a continuous truss bridge, and its main span of 1,200 feet. Video footage from the incident appears to show the bridge collapsing instantaneously, after the container ship hit one of its pillars. Big up Coiler saying Beemore is the Luton. Rah, is Luton the size of a major city? Fucking hell. How 8 people, all part of the construction crew, were seen on the bridge at the time. 2 of the workers are from Guatemala, according to the country's consulate in Maryland. What do we know about the ship? The Singapore-flagged container ship was originally built in Greek, ship owner by Ocean Bulk. It is currently operated by the charter vessel company called Energy Synergy Group, and it's been temporarily leased by a container ship, as a Maserati said the statement. You know what I was surprised about? I'm not gonna lie, this makes sense. I was surprised these container ships actually have pilots. I assumed they were all automated because you would imagine they run a predetermined route from one port to the other port. I was surprised you actually needed a actual pilot to kind of steer the fucking boat in the ocean. I actually just assumed it was kind of automated. Obviously, have somebody to kind of make sure nothing goes wrong. But I didn't know you actually needed somebody to actually pilot one of these kind of cargo ships. I just assumed it'd just be like a you put in this destination you put in the coordinates of where you want to go, and just have somebody to kind of supervise and make sure nothing goes wrong. But you do actually need someone to actually sit there and actually kind of do the whole thing. But again, I could be wrong. It continues. The ship set off at the Baltimore Seagirt Marine Terminal at 24 minutes past 12. The speed steadily increased and maintained a straight route southeast of the Paptico River. So there must be some nice properties here, innit, on the bay. Looking out this water, there must be some really nice properties around here in Baltimore. Whether or not you want to live there is another thing, but it must be quite nice. I'm not going to lie. Let's go. Around that time, the video shows the lights of the exterior of the ship suddenly went out and the smoke began to emanate from the ship's funnel. Shortly after it hit the bridge, a mayday signal was sent and the ship was approaching the bridge, which gave authorities the time of which the drove in. An unclassified memo from the US Cybersecurity Infrastructure obtained by the BBC partner says the deli had lost propulsion. Absolutely trash situation. But of course, we've got some idiots out there that think it was a conspiracy. One of them being Marjorie Taylor Greene, the legendary fucking politician out there in the States, who I've known. I know of Marjorie Taylor Greene only from CrossFit, because I was into CrossFit super early when CrossFit.com website was still kind of the popping place to be. And I forgot the name, the founder guy who kind of stepped away recently because of some sexual allegations. But Marjorie Taylor Greene was a very integral part of that early CrossFit community. That's why I remember her from. So to kind of see her, then going on to become a congresswoman has been pretty kind of crazy, especially when you consider how, redacted she is. But Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said the following on Twitter: there should be a serious investigation into the horrifying tragedy of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maryland. Is it an intentional attack or an accident? Praying for the victims. And of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene got fucking community noted here on X. It says the following: Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley said there's absolutely no indication that it was terrorism or that it was done on purpose. Governor Westmore confirmed the ship's crew issued a mayday and communication with experiencing a power issue. So it's very clear what happened. Mayday signal was sent because of experiencing a power issue. The mayday signal being sent so early also prevented so many people dying. And of course, if that's the case, then it can't be a terrorist attack. Because if it's a terrorist attack, you're going to want the most casualties possible. You're probably not going to send out a mayday signal. So of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene is fucking full of absolute shit. Absolute shit. So yeah, RIP to those of the people that have been lost. We've got more footage here, courtesy of the BBC. It says a father of three among one of the victims. So RIP to this young gentleman. It says here, continuing on with the article, courtesy of the BBC, giving some details on the people that have unfortunately passed on this regard. Let's wait for it to load up. Bear with me a second here. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's actually refresh it and we can go from there. Big up Young Old Vibes. Oh, you do CrossFit? yeah. Unfortunately so. I've been into CrossFit from a while. I think maybe I got in, I don't know when, maybe 2008, 2010, super long ago. I've always been doing it on and off in here. I was part of a box locally in my area, but unfortunately the prices of CrossFit boxes are crazy. They overcharge just to kind of have some guy shout at you for an hour to fucking get up, get down, get up, get down. It's like, you can get fucked. I'll just do the workouts I found on CrossFit.com in my local gym. I don't need some dude to shout at me and make me feel like I'm in the fucking Marines or something, which I'm obviously not. It's absolutely stupid. But courtesy of the BBC, it says the following: 6 people, including a father of 3, originally from El Salvador, are now presumed dead after the container ship that hit Baltimore's iconic Francis Scott Key Bridge. All are believed to be members of a crew working on the bridge and are citizens of Latin American countries. That's a really sad thing about a situation. You'd imagine most likely these guys were trying to put in for overtime, right? Working so late at night, or maybe that's the time they actually do have to work. But regardless, let's run with the overtime narrative. Working class people, mostly immigrants, working on the bridge, helping to make the bridge safer by repairing some of the potholes there. And then, you know, a freak accident happens in the dead of night when container ships are passing underneath, you know, to and from the fucking bridge. It fucking crashes into one of the pillars and you end up losing your life. Absolutely tragic situation, man. Really, really tragic situation. We continue here. It says local media has reported that 6 workers were citizens of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. The BBC has not independently confirmed. One missing worker from El Salvador was identified as Miguel Luna by the non-profit organization CASA, which provides services to the immigrant community in Baltimore. Fuck, man. He is a husband, a father of 3, and was called Maryland his home for over 19 years, said CASA executive Gustavo Torres. Marina Luna, son of Miguel Luna, told Washington Post that he knew his father was on the bridge overnight, but did not know it collapsed until the friends called him and said the bridge is gone. Imagine that. Imagine you know your dad's working on that bridge, you have no idea what happened, and your friend has to call you so you know that maybe your dad might have died. Fuck, bro. Or you see on social media. Shit. Associated Press reports that Honduran man Maynor Yacia Suazo Sandoval is among the missing men. Guatemalan foreign affairs ministry confirmed that 2 of the workers were Guatemalan nationals from the region of Petan and Chiquimula, but has not been named yet. That's one of the guys there, right? Miguel Yacia Suavo Sandoval, handsome dude. Hopefully they find these people soon. And give their families some level of peace, man. Absolutely horrible thing to see. Really, really sad, and really do hope that there's some conclusion, or a good conclusion anyway, to come out of this horrible situation. Continuing on from this, let's quickly read this article I've always wanted to read and check out, courtesy of the Irish Independent, that features one of my favorite DJs out at the moment and producers, Krystal Klear. I was actually fortunate one time, a very, very long time ago, when I was getting started in my DJ career, quote unquote, maybe in like 2008 actually. 2008, maybe 2008, I think, around that time, 2008, 2010. I DJed at some like art gallery thing, and I had my DJ controller with me. This was back in the day when having a DJ controller was like a scarlet letter. It was almost like you were an amateur, like you didn't know how to play. But it was the only way I could actually have the ability to play music, right, out in public and be able to DJ and shit. So I didn't have the ability to have CDJs because it was too much money. So I had this Numark MIDI controller, right, DJ MIDI controller that I kind of used and took out with me when I was playing. And I went to go play this gig where I was playing, I think at an art gallery or somewhere, and Krystal Klear also played after me, which is fucking funny when you think about it, right? I was on the same fucking lineup as Krystal Klear, but I was at one fucking point. So that's pretty cool to fucking see him now becoming this world touring superstar DJ producer guy who recently put out a book of photography, which he also kind of dabbles in, of all the kind of people he bumps into and is friends with out there in nightlife. But he penned this interesting article courtesy of the Irish Independent, talking about one of my favorite clubs, the Berghain. So I thought, why not talk about this? Because this is a really interesting article, because it features one of my favorite DJs and artists, and also one of my favorite clubs in the world and places to be, which is Berghain. So the title of the article is as follows, courtesy of the Irish Independent. I did my Berghain set, then had to leave straight away to play Kate Moss's 40th in London. Krystal Klear on what happens when the party ends. So let's hear what Krystal Klear has to say. When we hear the term international DJ, most of us probably imagine an endless summer of red velvet ropes, riders, after parties, with jet set hedonism, sweaty, euphoric dance floors, and DJ booths full of beautiful people. Well, that's how it looks on Instagram, and it does. And it actually is like that in real life. That's the fucked up shit about DJing, I think. As much as I've been pursuing it myself as a kind of quote unquote career, and I've been involved in the industry, or I've been involved, kind of doing my own parties and whatever it may be, and just being involved in the scene and shit, right? The unfortunate nature of it is that I can now have way more sympathy for people who crash out, who end up kind of like succumbing to addiction, who end up unfortunately passing away, wherever it may be, because I've seen what it actually is like on the inside. And it unfortunately is as good as it sounds if you're into that sort of stuff, right? There's loads of drugs available, loads of drinks available, loads of access flowing around the world, women, men, everyone in between that you're into, it's all available to you. You just have to know how to kind of, do it in moderation. But if you don't want to do it in moderation, you want to go, balls deep, you can go balls deep. But unfortunately, sometimes you can get lost in the sauce. And when you're lost in the sauce, there's no coming back. Anyway, the article continues. The Truth says Dublin-born DJ... sorry. The truth is, says Dublin-born DJ and music producer Declan Lennon, aka Krystal Klear, is that the immense highs of touring lifestyle often come with extreme lows. It looks like a never-ending party on social media, he agrees, but nobody really talks about the loneliness, exhaustion, burnout often goes hand in hand with the schedule, which is obviously the sad part of it. Because you can imagine, as a DJ, you're basically one person. You don't need your manager with you. You don't need your agent with you. You don't need your marketing team with you. You don't need anybody. You just need a pair of headphones and a USB key, right? That's all you need. A pair of headphones and USB stick, or maybe a laptop. That's it. Nothing else is needed. You spend most of your time in your hotel prior to the gig because you want to search for last minute tunes, or you go to, or maybe you're in the hotel waiting for someone to pick you up to go for dinner, but you don't really go and explore the city. You don't have time. You're flying in just before the set starts. You're flying out after the set finishes. So you're a bit all over the place. And obviously that kind of lifestyle, the same way as, because that's the thing with DJing, I'd imagine similar to like being a raver. When you're a raver, quote unquote, you get a lot of lifestyle shaming from other people. I've noticed that as well, especially the older I've got over time. I've noticed a lot more people kind of like lifestyle shaming you, because people, when they get over partying and being a party person, it's a big departure from their regular life. And also they can sometimes, let me walk that back. In general, when people try and lifestyle shame you, it almost feels a little bit harder to kind of handle, because technically you're not on the same timeline or timetable as them, because you're sometimes going out late on a Friday, you're coming back early morning on a Sunday, and most regular people don't want to do that, right? If you're not into the party lifestyle, you're probably looking for other things to do during the weekend. So you can only imagine what that must be like as a DJ. It's probably tenfold, because maybe during the week, your week's already fucked up. Maybe you're free on like a Wednesday at 4 p.m. Most people are working around that sort of time. So it can be a little bit of a fucked up situation to be in, because you sometimes can only hang out with raving people, but raving people are a bad influence, and you cannot hang out with your regular friends because all your regular friends are actually working real important jobs. It continues. The intensity of touring lifestyle can be destructive, he says. It was for him. In July 2023, Lennon had a nervous breakdown at an airport in Nice. He had just performed 9 shows around the world in 11 days, with a crazy travel schedule for the last 2. I collapsed at security, repeating the same sentence, crying non-stop, completely out of battery oil on the brain. Or to the brain, sorry. I was completely on my own. The loneliness of the lifestyle was intensified by the sleep deprivation, amplified by the fact that one person I wanted to call about it was gone. She had split up with me. I was just in a really bad place. Fuck. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being on a flight to Nice to play in some random fucking club somewhere no one outside of Nice fucking knows about? That's the thing about being a DJ too. You get these amazing gigs, but you also get a lot of gigs. So you end up playing sometimes these random places. Maybe there's no one even... Maybe you go to all that hassle to fly from Ibiza to Madrid to Berlin to Luxembourg to fucking Nice. You get to fucking Nice and there's 10 people there, right? So all that effort to go to this event, you're obviously getting paid handsomely, well, fair enough, but no one's fucking there. So you're kind of pissed off at the promoter for not promoting it well. You then start to get a bit insecure about yourself, thinking, shit, am I just not that big of a deal? People don't want to see me. And you start wasting your time. You start having a bit of an existential crisis, and then you're crying. You're crying at an airport. You break down and sob at an airport because of the loneliness of your career, and almost because you've been trapped by these fucking golden handcuffs. And I would imagine as well, there's a weird mindfuck, because sometimes, I know for me anyway, right? The one thing that you want as an up-and-coming DJ is gigs. I'm playing this weekend and, at a pub somewhere near where I live, for like a regular sort of like thing that I do all the time. But you also want like proper gigs, playing in actual proper nightclubs. That's all you want as a DJ. You want an opportunity to prove yourself and to get more gigs. Then you get more gigs, and it becomes the worst thing ever, because now you can't seem to keep out of that rabbit hole, right? You kind of want to keep spinning. The money's good. The lifestyle's quite cool. But then it also kind of isolates you from regular people. It fucks up your friendships. It fucks up your relationship with your family, with your relationship with other people. Like, like I think Seth Troxler's another one too, who had a similar situation where he basically had he lost a fiance off the back of his kind of ascent from going to be like a kind of tech house, minimal house kind of superstar type of thing. You do pay a big price, but I have to be honest. Part of me feels like a lot of this moaning that DJs do about the lifestyle is like a weird type of thing to almost make themselves feel relatable to the public. Because I feel like really and truly, you know what it is when you get into it. You know Wagwan. You know exactly what it's gonna be like, especially if you're a Krystal Klear. You produce amazing work. Yeah, he's production. He's one of the rare DJs who's as good as a producer as he's a DJ. He's super high level in both fields. But we all know if you make a banging tune, you're going to increase the amount of bookings that you're going to get. You're going to become more famous. You're going to be more in demand. You're just going to be everywhere at all times. So you know what comes with making a hit. You know what comes with pursuing your career. You know what comes with being a really good at your job. It is part and parcel of that kind of journey. So some of the complaints, some of the moaning and shit, it can almost feel a little bit, like I said, like a weird way to kind of almost feign relatability to the public, if that makes sense. I don't know if this makes sense. It kind of makes sense in my head. It continues. Declan, aka Krystal Klear, is a DJ music producer from Dublin. He also runs a label called Cold Tonic and is about to bring out his first book, Building Walls Out of Paper, London, UK, February, Lennon describes his mental health in the months leading up to his incident as a slow burning fuse that eventually blew. By the way, I also think the term or the categorization or the overarching term of mental health has been incredibly overused. I want to get to the point where people are getting diagnosed before they say they have anxiety or have depression. Until you get diagnosed, I don't want to hear your, self-diagnosed assessment of your fucking mental health. I don't give a fuck. But in this regard, I think this is really important. Let's continue. The hardest part was long before that, he says. Chatting by phone from his home in London. When I first moved here, I remember sitting in my flat, surrounded by boxes, just sitting on the floor thinking, I'm not happy, nothing. Oh, okay. Now I get him. Now I get Krystal Klear. He's talking about London, my hometown. Of course London makes you depressed. London is one of those places where it's not spontaneous. People are very individualistic. There isn't much of a community outside of going to pubs and clubs and drinking and doing drugs. People are kind of, like I said, on their own island, very cliquey. It can be a very lonely place. Even if you got money, even if you got clout, even if you got fame, it's not a very fun place for adults to do adult things outside of drinking and doing drugs. Honestly, London, if you don't do drugs, if you don't drink, it's kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. So I'm not surprised that an international DJ who spends all his time on his flights on his own, playing on his own, in hotels on his own, then lives in London and discovers, oh shit, I'm in this amazing flat on my own. You know what I mean? I'm not surprised. It continues. He tried to get excited about the upcoming tour, but I just remember that nothing will cheer me up. Ultimately, my lifestyle from the end of 2002 started to labor on me and my mental health. I started to get more and more sleep deprived. I fell into a bit of a dark hole about a lot of things in the beginning of the year. And unfortunately, I went on tour for 8 weeks, came back, and the woman that I loved split up with me because she felt like she wasn't getting what she wanted. She was fair. She was completely fair. I was like a ghost for 2 months, mentally at least. Yo, can you imagine? I can't imagine being able to leave my wife and kids for 8 weeks. For any job. That's the weird thing about a DJ job. I think DJ, unfortunately, as a career, has to be a red flag for a lot of women. Or anyone in particular. Men or whoever you're into. Has to be a red flag. Because that's the type of job, in the same way of like working on an oil rig. Because I think, an oil rig is different. If you work on an oil rig, you have a set amount of time that you're going to be there. Couple of months, 9 months, whatever, and then you're not there again. But DJ lifestyle is year round, especially nowadays. Nowadays, we have festivals that start in the 1st of January. So if you want to, you can play all year fucking round if you want to. If you have the stamina, if you have the endurance, if your heart is okay, if your nostrils aren't fucked up, you can play all year round if you want to. Can you imagine leaving your family and kids for 8 weeks? and still finding them when you get back. Never. Especially the type of women that I'm into and shit. The Nubian queens out there, they would never let me get away with leaving for 8 weeks and then coming back like everything's okay. Texting them at 2 a.m. only, at 4 a.m. Like, come on, man. Like, and think about it as a dude. Think about it as a dude. Forget black or white. Think about it as a guy. You're a DJ and you're away for 8 weeks. What do you do on your social media? Do you post on Instagram stories? Do you post all your meals? Do you post hanging out with all these cool people, these different cities? Do you post all the fan love? Do you post all the booth pictures? Do you post that knowing full well your missus or wife is at home just looking at that angry, furious? Or you have to hide that you're having fun? You have to pretend you're not, you know what I mean? Like, what do you do? What do you do when you're in that situation? Do you upload pictures? Do you not upload pictures? Like, how do you make that work? Oh, she'll be so pissed. You're in Paris having this amazing steak dinner with red wine. You're getting taken out by chauffeurs. You're meeting the fucking party promoters, having this amazing dinner, like Last Supper vibes on this big table. Everyone is cheering your name. A fan comes up to you at the gig and gives you this massive teddy bear. Some hot girl tells you to fucking sign her tits or takes a picture with you and tags you. Your missus sees that on your Instagram because you reshared it. Shit, you know what I mean? I can't imagine the amount of divorces that have happened in the DJ world. It must be fucking crazy. Let's continue. It was a tough time, but the show had to go on. Even if Lennon was there, more embodied and in spirit, he remembers playing back-to-back with his friend and mentor, Gerd Jansen. Big up Gerd Jansen, one of the best DJs in the world, one of my favorite DJs in the world. Big up Running Back, big up Gerd Jansen, fucking G. I've seen him play many times. Last time I seen him play actually was at Panorama Bar. I said hi to him after the set and he was fucking lovely. So big up Gerd Jansen. His best friend and mentor, Gerd Jansen at Circo Loco, DC10 and Ibiza on the Monday before his breakdown. Getting booked for Circo Loco is a big deal, especially when you're given one of the peak slots, as Lennon and Jansen were. It should have been a career high for Lennon, but his head was elsewhere. At the dinner beforehand, I was just I really want to go to DJ dinner, by the way. That's one thing that I can't wait to do once my DJ career starts to blossom, because I know I'm going to be there soon. One day you're gonna hear me on this fucking pod say, "Oh my god, guys, I got booked to play at Berghain, I got booked to play at Panorama." You're gonna hear me say that one day. But one of the things I'm really looking forward to is the fucking DJ dinner. Sitting down with the promoters, everyone kind of sucking your dick, giving you a hand job underneath the fucking table, right? Slipping you fucking little baggies of 8 balls and shit. Like, here you go, mate. Right? Don't worry, you're gonna get your 10 grand, but here's also a little 8 ball just to kind of keep you going, right? You're gonna tell, hey, by the way, give you a little wink. Say, look, we got a room full of Romanians up there, right? All of age, by the way, right? Room full of Romanians upstairs, all of age for you, mate, to knock down. Don't worry, you know, keep your phones in the fucking safe. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to, man. You know what I mean? 8 balls at dinner, right? Steak dinner on the promoters, right? Couple of grand in the fucking bank account for playing an hour, right? Because I was just thinking about it the other day. Like, I wonder how long I'm gonna be on 150. That's my current rate at the moment. My current rate at the moment as a DJ is £150, right? And it's for like 4 hours as well. It's not even for like an hour. So I wonder, how long am I gonna be on a 150 rate? When will I get to like £1,000 for like an hour set? Like some of these big DJs, or like even like 10 grand for fucking half an hour. I wonder how long it's gonna be for me. Or will I be on 150 for 4 hours for like 7 years more? I don't know. Either way, let's continue. So it says, at the dinner beforehand, I wasn't particularly myself. I remember Gerd and I arriving at DC10, and I remember pulling him aside. I never get anxious for gigs, and I told him, I'm really anxious. I'm just not feeling in control. Jesus Christ, bro. He asked why. I said, I just got a lot going on in my mind, and I feel like I'm vacant now. He said, don't worry, and he looked after me. But I remember that was that's a very German way of response, isn't it? Very German, isn't it? Very German. Why? But why? Don't worry, I'll look after you. Now, that sounds kind of Indian. But you know the accent, right? Germans are very matter of fact, cold. You know what I mean? No niceties and shit, no pleasantries, right? Why? Don't worry, I'll look after you. Don't worry, I have your back. Bring up Gerd Jansen. He said, "Don't worry," and he looked after me. But I remember that it was a prime example of me thinking, I've got to barren myself with booze. Absolutely have, because it's such a big gig. DC10 is quite intense environmental. It's quite an intense environment, he says. In a good way, of course. And as you guys know, DC10 is like, obviously in Ibiza. And it's a place where it's usually just packed full of fucking dudes. And there's dudes on the dance floor everywhere. There's dudes in the booth everywhere. But that's part of the vibe of it, right? It's almost it's almost like a clubhouse type of vibe. Everyone's kind of packed into each other like sardines and shit. But it kind of looks like a bit like a vibe. I'd actually love to go just to kind of witness it as a punter, as opposed to DJing first. I'll just see what it kind of looks like, because it must be quite sick to see, because the DJ booth is it's kind of like on a platform a little bit and to like an angle, and it's open air too, so you can see kind of planes going above you. It's quite sick actually as a club. I'm not gonna lie. DC10 is quite an intense environment, he says, in a good way, of course. And you're here going, I've got to make sure I perform. This is a world stage. Knowing I couldn't be in a moment at all was a real telltale sign that something wasn't right. I knew then that I couldn't shut off from the upset I was feeling inside of my heart and inside my head. That's the thing though, isn't it? When you've got actual real life shit going on, the DJing stuff becomes almost trivial. Like when your fiance has broke up with you, when your long-term girlfriend has left you and shit, or most likely when you go back home she's not going to be there, almost the whole DJing thing becomes like, what does this fucking matter? Do you know what I mean? Who gives a fuck about this shit? Lennon now wishes that he had opened up more about what he was going through. When you start to think, shit, I'm feeling some heavy stuff, that's when you start to fear that people will want your company, will not want your company. The same way alcoholics don't want to hang out with sober people. It's the same vein. Huh. Is that true? I wonder if that's specific to the DJ world. I wonder if in the DJ world, if you talk about your mental health struggles, or if you talk about your issues or your struggles with sobriety, maybe people kind of feel like you're going to be a bit of a party pooper. Is that what people maybe think? That's wild, it's true, isn't it? That maybe does show you how toxic nightlife's industry is, or the nightlife scene is. That people will actually be a little bit turned off by hanging out with you because they feel like you might be a bit of a Debbie Downer and you might start crying on their shoulder and shit, and they don't want that. Fucking hell. With my friends, I didn't want to be the moany prick in the group, and I was conscious of my girlfriend who was younger than me. I didn't want her to be like, God, I'm dating this older guy who's got all these problems. I better run away. Yeah, okay, cool. See, that's also another reason why you'd imagine, the relationship didn't work out. If you're a DJ and you're older than the lady and she's still got her whole life ahead of you and you're doing your career shit, it's almost impossible for that shit to work out. You'd imagine the only way it would probably work out is if you were probably the similar age or at a similar stage in life. Forget the age, just in where you are in life in terms of actually having a career that you're kind of, stable, somewhat stable in. It's something you're going to be doing for the long term, so that you can kind of, negotiate and build a future together. Negotiate or, figure out how to kind of handle your relationship, and then kind of figure out how ways to kind of things to put in place to ensure that you guys can kind of last for the long term. You'd imagine. But again, I'm a relationship expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a fucking idiot. Let's continue. If I had told more people and spoke to my ex and said, listen, I'm having a tough time mentally, they had been giving me some good advice. She maybe had thought, shit, it's naturally going through it. This is not about us. Yeah, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think you can convince people not to break up with you, even if you've got issues. I think when they're tapped out, they're tapped out. I think that's the thing about breakups. They're quite selfish in that regard. You don't really consider other people's feelings. You're mostly considering your feelings and how you are in that time and place and whatnot, and what the relationship is like for you. You're not thinking about the other person. So as much as you're saying this, I don't think it would have helped. The fact that she was out. Do you know what I mean? I don't think nothing would have changed that, unfortunately for him. It continues. Now he wants to be open about what he went through in the hope that it might help someone else feel a little bit less alone. A few days after the incident in Nice, while recovering in his home in London, Lennon posted a story on Instagram. He said on Monday the four walls of my professional and personal life collapsed, and after a heavy run of shows, I was riding the lightning and it caught me. It was a surreally honest post. I probably wouldn't have posted it if I had waited a week, but it was on my mind so much. I think there was an element of empathy that can get lost because of social media, and you're thinking at the back of your mind, this isn't their business. Let them get back to liking memes and funny videos. They don't need to know what's going on in my head. But at the time, I felt nobody knows this. Nobody knows this is going on. Nobody knows this is reality of my situation or my lifestyle. Everyone assumes it's fucking brilliant, and I was saying that it was fucked up. Now, the situation is, like I said before, is that I think everybody goes through this, especially as DJs. I think this is a common thing. People just probably keep a lid on it because, you know, it probably happens too often. But I do think as well, there is too much of this. There was a whole account, I think, on social media of people saying, oh, DJs complaining, right? And it'll be the most like trivial shit about connecting flights, about not having Wi-Fi, like all this dumb shit. So I think in general, considering how difficult this career is, most of you will know, you know, being a DJ is one of the hardest jobs in the world because it's one of the most in-demand jobs in the world, and there aren't many opportunities going around. There's way more DJs than there are opportunities, especially in a place like the UK, especially in a place like London, especially in a place like Europe. There's just too many DJs, not enough opportunities. So when you do finally get in, you have to know that if you are one of the lucky chosen few, that you're going to be one of the lucky chosen few that's going to be spread across all the events, which is why most of the big events have the same people playing again and again, because those are the ones that can guarantee a crowd, those are the ones that can sell tickets, those are the ones that well known, those ones that are trusted, blah, 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 blah. So this side of the, this kind of stress or whatever, the schedule, is a consequence or is a part of the job. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You can't separate the two. You can't be a famous world touring DJ without this. It's just what comes of it. You just have to work out a way to handle it, a way to manage it, a way to make it work, basically. There is no way to kind of fix it. The industry is fucked up. It is what it is. It's broken. It's not going to get fixed anytime soon. There's festivals, literally, like I said, from January all the way to December 31st. So if you want to play all year round, you can. But of course, your mental, your physical, your family, your personal will obviously suffer. And that is the nature of the beast. It kind of just is what it is. So when I hear some of these complaints, sometimes I'm a little bit like, yeah, but you don't really want to go back to playing at art gallery after you don't. I'm sure Krystal Klear doesn't want to be playing at the private view, at the art exhibition private views that he was playing at when I met him back in the day. I'm sure he doesn't want to come back to that level where you're getting £50 or a couple of drinks to play in the corner of an art gallery where no one fucking gives a shit that you're there. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, it is what it is. It continues. He's very aware of his privilege. I'm willing to take the risk of having rocks held at me. Oh man, get off your high horse. You've got such a great life. I just felt it's important, at least for me, for those that know this lifestyle is misconstrued. And it's generally misconstrued, ironically, through this app that I'm posting on. I don't think that's true though. I don't think people think it's misconstrued. It's not at all. I think everybody knows the reality situation. They know that being a professional DJ is fraught with landmines, right? It's a very it's an occupational hazard, right? For lack of a better term. People know that, but they're willing to roll the dice because it is a great lifestyle. And if that's your dream, if that's your passion, like it is for me, to like play music loudly and share my taste with people and make them dance and make them forget all their worries and have a good time, whatever, and make them sweat and boogie and maybe fall in love and make new friends on the dance floor. That you're willing to the positives sort of like outweigh the negatives in that regard, but negatives do exist. But I don't think it's misconstrued in the slice. I don't think people think it's all sunshine and rainbows. I'm sure people are aware, myself included, that most of those gigs, especially some of the big DJs on the lineups that you see world touring, you look at their fucking list of gigs on RA, and for sure, there's going to be some gigs on there, regardless of where they are in the world, whether they're in Guatemala, whether they're in fucking Prague and shit. There's going to be some gigs where there's going to be no one turning up. They might be playing a gig where there's like 10 people in the fucking audience. That's part of being a DJ, right? There might be a gig where you arrive late and you have no option but to play for like 20 minutes and you get docked your wages or some shit. Like that shit happens. We know what the situation is. We know sometimes being a DJ, it kind of costs you your family, costs your relationship, your marriage. It kind of is part of the devil's bargain that you kind of take when obviously you kind of agree to become, or you kind of ascend to that kind of level. But I don't think it's misconstrued. Personally for me, I don't think it's misconstrued, but I could be wrong. It continues. I always feel a little bit guilty about feeling upset or sad, he continues. I've got a roof over my head, money in my pocket, food on my plate, and I don't have to shovel coal every day in the rain. I'm extremely fortunate. But yeah, the touring lifestyle is completely unknown, underestimated for those who haven't done it, and there's definitely a bit of an age kicking in. I'm not old by any means, but I'm not 25 anymore. That's the thing though. That's why I think as a DJ at his level, he should now become somebody that takes his career and he should be a DJ that takes his career in control, right, of his own hands. Like, it should be he should be dictating what gigs he plays. He should be like like a Dixon, when they're like, oh, I'm only gonna do 100 gigs. Of course that comes from a place of privilege, because Dixon and all those Innovision guys are super in demand, so you can sort of like decide what gigs you can and can't take. Maybe there are some DJs who are quote unquote working class blue collar DJs who have to take everything they're gonna be given at them or thrown at them. But I think if you're someone like a Krystal Klear and you're clearly suffering and you have the ability to break down and you're going through all these hard moments in your life, both professionally, both personally, you probably should prioritize your mental health and your overall kind of happiness, as opposed to getting all the big gigs and be able to charge as much as you want to charge. Maybe limit the amount of gigs that you're doing, and maybe pick the places that you're going to play with more intention, and then kind of go from there. But you can't complain about the schedule and then keep doing the same thing. You know what I mean? It's a bit dumb, in my personal opinion. But what do I know? Let's continue. At 30, especially when you're advancing of in years, you definitely have to be a little bit more purposeful about what gigs you do and which gigs you don't do. But again, I could be wrong. At 36, Lennon has got a lot of living to do, but he's also been in the game for a long. He's 36, right? He looks a lot older than that, to be honest. I thought he's 40s. He's also been in the game a long time, having got his first set of turntables at 10 years and 16. Music loomed large in his life from a young age. He went to school at St. Michael's College in Boardsbridge in Dublin, but was more interested in graffiti writing and hanging out with record shops. I was very lucky, he says. I grew up in a very eclectic father. He was a DJ when he was younger, and he was very open to me exploring any album I wanted. His older cousin, John Joe, was another big influence. He, to me, was the epitome of cool, so I was taking whatever nuggets he could share, whether it was a DJ Shadow or Deftones, and it just turned into a giant stew between 11 to 14. Hey, giant stew, big up Brendan Shaw, a giant stew. My ears were tantalized by nearly everything I heard. At 15, he joined a metal band. We were god awful, but then his interest in electronic music started to completely eclipse whatever I was listening to. One of the first techno gigs he ever attended was DJ Dave Clark. Oh, big up Dave Clark, man. One of the best moaners, one of the best whingers on social media. A great follow on fucking Facebook, actually. And weirdly enough, a fucking killer DJ. I saw him play maybe, let's say, 6 months ago in fucking Fabric. So good. That's the thing. He's one of the rare ones. He chats a lot of shit online, but he's actually really good. Like, a lot of those DJs like are really vocal online, and you get politically active and are social justice warriors, for better or worse, right? Are usually kind of shit, in my personal opinion. I think they spend way too much time being politically active and a lot of time fucking playing. But Dave Clark, woo, he's fucking fire. To the best of his memory, in the Red Box of Dublin, he got a fake ID from a friend and wore an Oxford shirt to appear older. I remember it took me an hour to feel comfortable enough to dance, not even knowing how to dance. At this point, he was practicing his turntable skills in private. To be honest, I had really bad taste in my mouth about DJing in Dublin growing up, he says. I felt like it was weirdly competitive. The guys I grew up with DJing were more into scratching, which I fucking loved. But I was more into dance music without sounding cliched. I was more into gaining an euphoric notion. When I went to clubs, when I listened to certain records, the crescendos would always be the best bit. At 19, Lennon was working at All City Records in Dublin, making tracks in his bedroom. The owner of the store wouldn't even entertain any of my demos. Well, he'd listen to them, but I had the idea that if I listened to them something, he'd be listening to Declan, not listen to the track. And that changes the thing. So I decided I'd make an alias. I posted it on MySpace and say I'm from Belize and I'm going to send free tracks to some influential people. The move paid off when BBC Radio DJ Benji B picked up one of his tracks for his weekly show and played it for like 3 months, honest to God. The best bit was that a couple of peers from the record stop started talking about the track. I had to break the news to the owner and said, yeah, I made this, fuck off, he said, and then realized it, and I never looked back since then. See, the power of a fucking alias, innit? They don't fucking give you any credit or give you any love when you use your real name because they know you for you and they can't take you for granted. The moment you give yourself a fucking alias and you say you're from some other place, right? And then suddenly now you're fucking hot shit. Absolutely annoying, but I love it. It continues. Lennon was 25 when he was invited to play Panorama Bar. 25! Fuck! Sick, man. At Berghain in Berlin for the first time. The infamous nightclub is open on Fridays night to the early Monday morning, and the queue outside is long, slow, and anxiety-inducing. Berghain's renowned for the notoriously tough door policy, imposing unsmiling balances that don't make it any easier. That might explain why he became so popular so quickly, because his productions were so good. So that might explain why the DJ career kind of popped off, and he still had a very stable career, over the last 10 or plus years, despite some up and downs in terms of production. But the fact that he came out of the gate with like shit hot production probably kind of spoke to it. But big up him. And obviously he still DJs super early on, so he's very, very well rounded in that regard. He says about his Berghain experience: I was in my hotel awake all night with nerves. I was chatting to a DJ, a friend of mine in Miami, about every variable. What if this track doesn't go down well? Well, if my folder of these songs, and if it doesn't work? I was thinking of every backup plan. On this particular occasion, the club texted me and said, "Can you come in a taxi?" He got the venue at 6 a.m. for his 8 a.m. set, but he wasn't quite sure what to do next. The queue was busy and I got in the queue because I was so anxious I just didn't know what to do. I knew the ethos of the place. I was very nervous. I was pretty nervous. An hour passed and I was thinking, fucking hell, because the queue hadn't moved much. Imagine, man, how nervous you have to be to pull up to Berghain to go play your gig and you jump into a queue. You don't even try and go straight to the front and just try and get in because you're an artist fucking playing. Bloody hell, man. That's something that I would do. I'd be so nervous just standing in the queue waiting when I actually should just be going in straight to the front. Big up him. Thankfully, a record bag with him, which security guard spotted. He walked up to me and said, "What are you doing? You can't bring this into the nightclub." I said, "No, I'm DJing." He said, "You're DJing here tonight?" He said, "Yeah." The bouncers were laughing among themselves as he brought me to the front of the queue and into the club. They were like, "Did you see this guy? He queued up." I was thinking this couldn't be going off to the worst start. For DJs and bouncers, Panorama Bar on a Sunday is pretty much as good as it gets, but this was the only time this is only the start that he describes as the wildest 36 hours of his life. I did my set, then had to leave straight away because I was asked to play Kate Moss's 40th birthday party in London. Can you imagine how much of a euphoric high that must be as a DJ? To go from playing Panorama Bar at 25 on a Sunday at 6 a.m. primed slot to flying out back to London to play Kate Moss's 40th. The fucking blow must have been flowing. The cat must have been flying. The pills must have been getting juggled. Loved it. I did my set, then I had to leave straight away because I was asked to play Kate Moss's 40th in London. I flew to Manchester to grab my suit, jumped on a train to London, took a car to fellow DJ Scream's gaff, got dressed and went to Mayfair. Got to Scream's yard, couple of bumps, boom, straight to Kate Moss's. He and Scream played back to back. Wow. Back then they were playing back to back. So Scream's been playing disco-ish stuff from a while, isn't it? Because I thought he only made that transition recently. He and Scream played back-to-back until 4 a.m. after having one of the wildest parties ever. Then she invited us back to her hotel, and she had a top floor at Claridge's where we were there until 11 a.m. and I'm leaving out some very wild details. I'd love to... If I ever get to meet Krystal Klear and we ever get to have a conversation, this is the one thing I want to hear about. Forget, how do you get DJ bookings? How do you get a manager? Where do you record dig? How do you make your tunes? Now, fuck that. Tell me, off the record, what was Kate Moss's birthday party like? Please, in detail. Tell me in detail. Were you doing bumps off a fucking Hermes plate? Did she have fucking Chanel straws? Like, what the fuck was going on there? Please tell me. Leave out the names. I don't really care about the names. But tell me about what was going on. Were they fucking monkeys? Was there a fucking giraffe in there? That's what I want to hear about. That's what I want to fucking hear about. The party wasn't over yet. He took a quick nap before playing at Boiler Room to set the later in the day. Fucking hell. What a fucking lineup. Panorama Bar on a Sunday at 6 a.m. Kate Moss's 40th birthday party. And then a fucking Boiler Room rave. Fuck. In between that, you've got an after party at Claridge's. Shit. It's under the sort of weekend that fantasist Jane in-betweener would make up to impress his mates. My behavior would have been like one of those in-betweeners, he says. I was so wet around the ears. Wet, eh? I wonder what else was wet, mate. I was so wet around the ears in every aspect, but it really was insane. I could have written that script if I tried. Still, even after that weekend, you can't rest on your laurels. I was building my name for myself and things seemed to be going in the right direction. But honestly, this is the scary truth. At the drop of a hat at 27, things just started to stop. Damn. So imagine, that's the thing about DJing, it's so fucking up and down, right? You go from that heady high 2-year period of just like, and then suddenly at 27, the gigs start to slow down because I guess, DJing and club culture, because I remember reading a book about it. I wish I remember what book it was. When I was promoting, when I was doing the raves out here in Dalston and in Shoreditch and shit, and I was that man about town with my co-promoter that I was fucking doing the raves with, right? I remember reading an article about scenes, I think, back in the day. Maybe it was about the scenes in New York and stuff. And I remember they said something like, scenes have a 4-year cycle. So it's a 4-year cycle of scenes where, you all coming together, you're all doing raves, you're all doing parties, your mates are setting up bands, your mates are opening up bars, restaurants, agencies. And then there's another 4-year cycle where another group of people come in. And usually that other 4-year cycle replaces the other one. So you kind of have to move on, evolve, or you kind of get left behind type of thing. But it is a 4-year cycle. And I imagine in nightlife it's probably the same. And probably even more so when it comes to DJs. Because there's always the young, hot person, you know? The young, hot person that needs to be there and out and about. Maybe that's all right. But I don't know. Let's continue. Let's see what I have to say. But honestly, this is a scary truth. At the drop of a hat, at 27, things just started to stop. My agent was like, gig offers aren't coming in. Remix offers aren't coming in. And I was starting to stress because you have this public persona, and this was the heyday of social media where everyone was fluent in publicizing the brilliance of what they were doing and how amazing everything was. It just wasn't like that for me, and I was frankly shitting it. Can you imagine how that is as a DJ? You're not worried about your career. You're not worried about not being able to pay your bills. You're more worried about the perception that you look like a loser, the perception that you're dead, the perception that your career is dead in the water. You're more worried about how it looks like you don't have that image on Instagram that says, oh, here's my gigs for February, here's my gigs for March, here's my gigs for April. You're more worried about not having that square. You're more worried about not having that picture with your arms open wide in the Jesus pose behind the DJ booth, as opposed to like, my career's fucked up. How do I work something out? You're just worried more so about the perception. That's the fucked up thing about social media. And I think probably everybody has the same sort of image. Has the same sort of thinking, especially in the creative world, in the arts, right? Or in the entertainment field, which is why I love, something that Tyla the Creator said a lot about, people, creatives should be posting more of the stuff that they do online, like things you're working on, and really just, sharing it all and not kind of being precious about what you do, not being a perfectionist. I think Virgil Abloh speaks about that sort of stuff quite often. That's really important because the perception thing doesn't really matter if you're really having fun with what you're doing. You feel like you're expressing yourself. You feel like you're being able to communicate that with your quote-unquote community or other people that are into the same thing that you're into, blah, 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 blah. But god damn, it continues. Things picked up, but the precariousness of the business is a pressure for DJs. The bigger problem with DJing is that the drugs, drinks, and hedonism, they all go hand in hand. I'm glad he said that. Because that is a reality situation. They go hand in hand, they're unavoidable. You just have to work out what works for you. Whether it's like arriving at gigs at a certain time, so you don't have to, you just got to work out, but there's no way of like getting rid of it. There's no way of stopping it. You just got to like figure out how to make it work for yourself. It's almost like, figuring out how to pray in a brothel. You just got to work it out. You're not going to stop motherfuckers coming in. You're not going to stop motherfuckers coming. You just got to work out how to pray in a brothel. It fucking is what it is. It continues. They all go hand in hand. If we're going to be black and white about it, most DJs that I know, of course, require that extra bit of confidence. It's hard to perform completely teetotal. And I would agree with that 100% myself. As being an avid raver, as being an aspiring, up-and-coming, bedroom DJ type, it is quite difficult to DJ or to rave without doing anything. I've done it many a times. I do it all the time, to be completely honest. When I do go out, most of the time I am going out sober, to be fair, with the exception of a Red Bull, which I don't know if that counts with the caffeine and shit. But you can do it. But is it an enjoyable experience? Is it pleasurable to be around drunk and high people when you're completely teetotal? No. But can you enjoy the sets? Can you like listen to somebody play like you're going to watch a gig? Yes. But the fucking drugs and the booze culture, it permeates. It's above you. You can't avoid it. It's almost like a cloud. It's a mist. It's all over you. People are touching you. Feel like it's just there. You go to the toilet to piss. You're hearing everybody sniffing all over the place. Like you can't avoid it. So it's just one of those things you have to kind of figure out how to make work for yourself. Whether it's like you come in straight away, you grab a fucking soft drink, you stand in the corner like a fucking fed, and you don't go to the toilets and shit, so you don't get tempted to do anything bad. You don't go to the bar at all. You just bring your own bottle of water. I don't know what you do. You have to figure out how it works for yourself, but it is one of those things that it's just part of the thing, and it's hard to kind of avoid. And I think the playing thing, I'm lucky with the playing thing. When it comes to DJing, I'm a fairly confident person anyway, right? I'm a fairly confident person. So I don't need anything to kind of give me, a push to kind of do something. I just do it because I want to do it. I'm the singing down the street type of guy that isn't drunk, right? I'm the guy on my bike that's like singing that isn't drunk or high. I'm just in a good mood. So I don't need I don't need something to give me a pick me up. If anything, I actually don't like to do anything when I'm DJing. I don't want to drink. I don't want to do anything at all because I want to be like clear-minded when I'm quote unquote performing. And I also feel like you're kind of cheating the fans or the audience when you are under the influence when you're playing, because you can't really do a good job clear-minded. Because when you're at home, myself, I don't know if other people are different, but when I'm at home and I'm putting together my sets or my playlist on record box and shit, or I'm record digging, I don't drink or smoke or do anything. I'm just like listening to tunes like oh my gosh, sick, and I'm reacting to it. And I'm putting it all into playlists. I'm organizing my sets so I want to play. So why can't I transpose that same sort of vibe into a club and give them my all there instead of trying to be under the influence and being all sloppy? I don't want to do that, and I'd rather save that stuff for after the set as a celebration. Okay, cool, good job, mate, well done. Here's a glass of champagne. You know what I mean, that's the way to do things, I think personally, but I could be wrong. Lennon isn't teetotal, but he's fairly disciplined these days. I don't really party anymore, he says. I'm not a massive drinker when I DJ. I love a cigarette. That's probably my own. Yeah, okay, I can see that. A cigarette while DJing probably might be a good little thing. Get that little nicotine hit, or maybe hit the vape or some shit. That might be quite a good way to go, I think. Or maybe even a Zyn. Maybe I wonder if there's a DJ. I wonder if there's DJs that get sponsored by Zyn now. Maybe I might be the first DJ that gets a Zyn sponsorship, right? I get like little nicotine patch was I'm fucking playing. That might be fucking sick. Now it's just reached a point where the touring schedule is so intense, and then when tour ends, it's not like I'm going back to my bedroom to smoke a joint. I listen to Jeff Mills all day. I might go and finish a record, just normal adulting. So okay, so he's kind of changed and wised up a bit. I fucking love it. He's performed a lot of gigs sober, he says, and while he admits it's difficult, he thinks there's ways to loosen social inhibitions without drugs and alcohol. If you do certain forms of therapy, it will bring that inner part of you out more that maybe you're not able to do without a drink. There is definitely a part of me when I'm sober with my friends where I'm cracking the same jokes and having the same energy that I would after 3 or 4 pints. Exactly. But I'm the same though. I think I'm probably way more sloppy when I'm high and drunk as opposed to when I'm sober. I think when I'm sober, I'm the best version of myself in terms of like being fun and having the good vibes. Sorry. But I remember I went to Berghain 3 times, I think. Yeah, 3 times sober. And I think 2 of the times was during Sober October. I happened to be there during Sober October, and I happened to I've kind of followed through with it. And one thing I've noticed is that I think being sober in clubs is easier when the club is like a level of like Berghain. That kind of level of where they take clubbing seriously. There's door picking there. There's a lot of like chin strokers and music heads that go there. So you don't feel as if like everybody around you is fucked up. There are people that are fucked up, don't get me wrong, but not everybody's out there to go get fucked up and to have the best time of their life and make it like a fucking Project X party. No. People are there to see DJs. They're there to maybe see friends. They might be there to kind of quote unquote cruise. It's not just straight up drinking and drugs. But I feel like most clubs, especially the clubs in London, they are just an excuse for people to get fucked, unfortunately. So it makes it harder to kind of like be sober and do it well, because everybody in there is kind of just using the clubs, using the DJs, using the party as a conduit, as an excuse to get fucked up, right? Because why not get fucked up with the soundtrack on? But I feel like if you go to places like Berghain and other, established legit clubs, maybe run properly, people in there aren't just there to get fucked up. They're there to hang, they're there to chill, listen to music, maybe get inspiration for their sets themselves or whatever else they do in their lives. People watch, just hang out, whatever. So that's what makes it a bit easier in those type of places, I found. Again, it's weird to say this, but I find it easier to be sober in a place like Berghain than to be sober in a place like Fabric, for instance, in my personal opinion. But again, I could be wrong. Lennon says that he had time to reflect during the months after his nervous breakdown. He took some time out, but he felt uninspired to make music. I started to resent my job, resent my industry. I started to hate the fact that something I love lost me someone I love, and also made me feel this way about my body and about my health. Yeah, because I'd imagine that was the same time that he did the whores, isn't it? Because again, not to be mean or anything, but he was looking super fat in that, a few of those whore Berlin vlogs that he was doing. His tits were flying all over the place. So maybe that was kind of a consequence of like, the shitty lifestyle, feeling a bit down, not really kind of like, not really loving what you're doing, and kind of like, comfort eating and shit. That kind of, it takes its toll. But again, I remember that being a thing that I was very conscious and aware of, for the DJ career that I'm kind of, striving to achieve, was when I remember watching like Seth Trockler's Ascent. Because I remember Seth Troxler at the time was dating a girl that I kind of knew loosely, and they ended up getting engaged. I kind of knew her from the scene and shit, right? And then I remember, like, they obviously had to break off the engagement, and I remember hearing through people that part of it was his lifestyle. He was never around and shit, and when he was around, cooling, there'd be loads of people behind in the back. Seth Troxler, for instance, fucking, world famous DJ. There'd be tons of people in the background talking, all this sort of shit. So you just imagine from her point of view how it would have felt like you were kind of on your own when your partner was flying off around the world and you go and call him, and it's almost like you never have alone time. You can never be together, It's almost like there's always someone else in the room, some clout chaser, some fucking some fucking whore, right? Some groupie trying to like jump on your guy, and over time that to kind of break up. And I remember he even said himself, I think during an interview with RA, he was really heartbroken because he really loved that girl. That girl really loved him, but it just didn't work out. So you can only imagine, what that must feel like, especially when you're a DJ. You kind of meet somebody, you get engaged because you feel like this is one person that kind of gets you, and you want to hold them down. You're looking to, build a life together with them, whatever, and then suddenly it ends because of the same job that you had. It must be fucking horrible. But yeah, it kind of is part of the process of it, and whatever you can do. Let's continue. Still as an artist, he felt the need to express himself. He started putting together a book of photography, more of a personal project. When he told his friends, a French publisher, about it, he suggested that he release a photo memoir, Building Walls Out of Paper, is a result. It's all ups and downs, he says. The surrounding message is never assumed. Photography and writing mark something new direction of Lennon, who now wants to explore different types of artistic expression. You see? Okay, I like this. He's like, you know what? I'm not losing another fucking fiance. I'm not losing another wife. I'm not losing another girlfriend. I'm not losing another partner because of this fucking career. So if you can have a little side career, being a writer, a photographer and shit, that also pays the bills, that also allows him to be artistically, expressive and shit, he'll take it. I like this approach. I like this. He's like, you know what? You're not burning me twice. I do circumstantially believe that everything happens for a reason. I needed to burn out to happen in July because you don't learn anything by success. You learn by failure. Agreed. Big up Krystal Klear. Very much agree with that. You don't learn anything by success. Unfortunately, I don't know why we're hardwired like that as humans. We're wired not to learn by our wins, but by our losses. You have to kind of always burn our hand to fucking learn to put our fucking hand in the fucking stove. It's annoying, but it is what it is. It continues. It's not that I failed, but I learned from a tough situation. Building Walls Without Paper is published by Classic Paris and Toll Tonic and available online. I hope he does a fucking exhibition in London. I know he did one in Ireland with the pictures and shit. Hopefully he does an exhibition and reading in London sometime soon. I think that'll fucking go off and shit, especially considering his connection with London and Phonica Records and all that kind of good stuff. That'll definitely be something good to check out. But really good article, to be honest. Very honest, very upfront about his struggles. Again, I think sometimes the DJing moaning about the gigs can be a little bit self-indulgent, especially considering the amount of people out there that would fucking kill to be Krystal Klear, even during his worst months, right? They fucking kill to have that career. I still think it's probably nice still to share that anyway, and to let people know that despite what you may think, not all that glitters is gold, and that sometimes having this sort of life, you have to sacrifice other things, such as your career, such as your family, such as your personal, and whatever else it may be. But a really, really good article. Big up the Irish Independent for putting together. Big up Krystal Klear for being open and vulnerable about everything, and of course, big up the writer Katie Bryan for obviously being able to pen this lovely, lovely, lovely article. And I hope you guys can read it yourself if you want to do so. I'll obviously put the link in the description for you to check it out if that is the way that you feel. If that is the way that you feel. Moving on. We have to. We must talk about Supreme and Margiela. Supreme have collaborated with Maison Margiela's streetwear subsidiary sub-label, which I'm a big fan of, called MM6. I'm sure most of you guys that are into clothes and shit will know what MM6 is. It's basically the more easily accessible version of Maison Margiela in terms of like t-shirts, jeans, hoodies, trainers, all that malarkey. In a very unexpected turn, Supreme has collaborated with Maison Margiela under the label of MM6. This is one of the reasons why. This and the fucking Shanghai store opening. This is one of the reasons why I've always said, I think of all the companies out there, because I'm very staunchly independent and want to be entrepreneurial, whatever it may be. But if I did have to work a job and had to kind of pursue a career, the two companies I'd want to work for, Supreme and WeWork. I'm not lying. WeWork under Adam Newman, allegedly because Adam Newman, the former fucking founder, of WeWork, and the former owner who was embroiled in all that controversy because he fucking spunked up a lot of money and ended up fucking failing WeWork. He's coming back and buying it again. If I had to work for two companies, the two companies would be Supreme and WeWork. And this would be it. Because imagine being a part of putting this project together. Imagine being a part of putting this collaboration together. Imagine knowing this is happening. You know, imagine having an insight into all the designs that didn't make it and shit. Imagine how amazing it would be to just see all this stuff like come to fruition. It'd be fucking incredible. I'd fucking love it. So big up Supreme, big up MM6. It says here, MM6 is part of Martin Margiela, a luxury fashion house founded in Belgium by designer Martin Margiela in 1988. In 1997, MM6 Maison Margiela was established as a relaxed line to complement the Maison avant-garde destructive designs. MM6 has since evolved as a brand that encompasses wide-ranging everyday offerings with subtle and submersive twists anchored in Margiela's design philosophy. In an era defined by extravagant opulence, Maison Margiela challenged expectations by presenting deconstructed tailoring and often employing recycled or humbled materials. Following the founder's spirit of anonymity, MM6 remains designed by a collective, directing focus back to the garments and the ideas and the shape of them. Margiela's subversive practices have since become widely adopted as generations of designs continues to look to collective as a touch point of the integrity of innovation. Thinking about it though, haven't Supreme also done the same thing, especially post Tremaine Emory being creative director? They haven't announced a new creative director. It almost feels like they do design by committee, by collective. There's no real one person you can kind of say, oh, he designed this, she designed that. It's all kind of underneath the umbrella of Supreme. Maybe they're kind of doing the same sort of thing. Maybe there's a lot more correlations between Supreme and Margiela than I initially thought. Supreme has worked with MM6 Margiela on a new collection for spring 2024, available tomorrow, and also available in Asia on March 30th. Let's look at some of the pieces. This fucking fur coat. Oh my God. Allegedly, there's only 100 or so made. Allegedly, there's 100 of these made. There's 100 of these. There's 100 of this reconstructed fur trench coat. Would you call it a trench coat? I'm not sure if I'd call it a trench coat actually. It's a little bit shorter than a trench coat. It comes just comes just above the knees, but it's fucking amazing. It's all this faux fur that's almost been patchwork put together. Fucking beautiful, 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 beautiful fur. And he's also wearing it with the reimagined Jordan 4s. He looks absolutely banging. So big up the model, right? And there he goes again with the hood on as well, walking down the street. Look at how good that looks. I think that's Paris, right? Walking down the Parisian streets wearing it. There's a full suit. There's a full suit with a vest, with a waistcoat included as well, in the white, in the classic kind of suit. Oh my God, look at the hat. Wow, look at the hat. There's a camp cat that's been painted white. You know the classic kind of Margiela paint, right? We just kind of dip it in white and you cover it in white, and you can just about see the box logo peering underneath the white paint. Wow. Can you imagine what that's going to look like if it's actually painted white and you break it in and it starts to crackle and whatever and crease all over the place? Fuck! It's going to look so good. Let's continue. You got the white suit there with a white vest underneath and a camp cat. You've also got a suit in grey here that one of the models is wearing. Lovely cut of the suit with the look at the logo. It's got the Margiela logo here on the sleeve and another Supreme logo on the underneath, tonal logos. And I'm assuming it's got the darts, the 4 white darts at the back of the suit as well. Maybe that'd be fucking cool. Look at the logo. Look at the logo on the sleeve, man. Embroidered too. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Love it. That looks so fucking good. There's also a waist jacket here. You see. Oh, the varsity jacket. Oh my god. The reconstructed varsity jacket. I think that's like 4 varsities in one, or maybe 2. The reconstructed varsity jacket. They've taken what Needles were doing, right? Needles were doing those. Remember those Needles flannels that everyone was wearing for a while? The reconstructed flannels. They've taken that same approach with reconstructed flannels and they've applied it to the fucking varsity jacket. Wow. Wow, man. That looks so cool. So you've got different, I think it's 3 varsity jackets. You've got one varsity jacket here on the left with the green body and a yellow sleeve. One varsity jacket here with the maroon body and maroon sleeves. And you've got the other navy one here in the middle. Look at that. A reconstructed varsity jacket. That looks so fucking cool. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Look at how good that looks. FTP, fuck the police on the side there. God damn, I'd wear the fuck out of that. I'd wear the fuck out of it, I swear to God. Oh, look at the hoodie as well. There's a great hoodie with this. I don't know what the effect, it's like a crinkled effect. Almost similar with the paint. I'm not sure if that's been painted on or if that's just a pattern on the actual jacket. That's really cool. With the hood as well on it. It almost looks like a Carhartt type-esque jacket or style, especially with the double knee pants. That looks absolutely beautiful. It also comes in the black and that silver. There's a t-shirt with the skulls and they're all on fire there. Also, that's like a pretty cool design too. Oh, look at that overshirt. Wow. There's like a baggy overshirt thing as well. That looks incredible. I love the look of that. I'm all over that. You know I love a good little baggy overshirt to wear. That looks fucking tough. I love the look of that. Some shorts as well that the model's wearing. The overshirt also comes in a pinstripe design. It kind of reminds me of the Balenciaga overshirt that I had in blue with the pockets on the side and shit that I unfortunately lost at a party. Absolute idiot. There's also a hoodie here with the, oh, look at this. Look at the box logo. The box logo is fucking gorgeous. It's a hoodie that almost looks like it's been covered in, again, paint, cracked or dried out, or maybe it's an ink material. I'm not really too sure. And the logo is also tonal. The box logo is tonal. And it's also got a box logo reverse design on the back. That hoodie is fucking brilliant. The box logo. So we got a Margiela Supreme box logo. Oh my God. We've also got a bike lock. We've got a Kryptonite bike. Is that a Kryptonite bike lock? We've got a Margiela Supreme Kryptonite bike lock. Fuck, bro. I remember I used to wear these all the time when I used to cycle. When I used to cycle on my 26-inch BMX, my charge stove, I used to have this wrapped around my waist all the time. This is part of my little swag back in the day. But I don't have my rope chain anymore, unfortunately. But fuck, bro. Look how good this shit looks. Good jeans, good hoodie. You got a box logo t-shirt by Margiela also and Supreme. Where you've got like a t-shirt design printed on top of the t-shirt. That looks pretty cool. I love that look. It kind of reminds me of some old Margiela pieces as well that's got the similar design. I'm sure that's what they've been referencing. God damn, that looks good. And there's also a vest. Oh, look, there's a double vest included too. A double vest. So there's a Hanes vest included that's got like a vest on the inside too. So you got like a double vest design going on there. I love the look of that. And there's also selling a wig. Oh, lovely. I love this. There's also a wig included in the collaboration. A blonde wig. Obviously in the bike lock there. There's a skate deck with the painted motif on it. But yeah, this patchwork, the patchwork faux jacket is definitely one of my favorites in the collection. I'd 100% wear the fuck out of this. You've got this kind of, you know, I guess you'd call it a trench coat or an overcoat. I'm imagining you'd call it faux fur. It kind of comes just above the knees. You got the nice logo here on the inside. Nice Margiela and Supreme logo. Double logo there. A nice silver chain. Fucking hell. Lovely, lovely fucking patchwork. And again, like I said, I heard allegedly there's only 100 of these made. There's a white suit also included. A washed cotton suit in white and in navy. There's also a washed cotton vest as well. There's also the patchwork. Oh, sorry, the split varsity jacket, not patchwork, split varsity jacket. There's a, what's it called? A foil. Is it foil? Okay, foil material hoodie. That looks fucking incredible. Love the look at this. And I'm not usually, I'm not gonna lie, yeah. I've got a controversial opinion. I don't usually like these type of jackets with the elasticated bottom with a hood. It's like I like my bomber jackets to not have hoods on them. I want them just to have a regular collar. If you give me an elasticated waist, don't give me a hood. It's like, do you know those parkas that people wear? The Canada Gooses that are like short, they're cropped. I hate those jackets. I think that style is fucking horrendous. They kind of look like the Jordan 1 lows of jackets. If you have a jacket, either it's long with a hood or it's short with no hood. I don't like fucking, you know what I mean? I never like this type of style. I don't know. Something about this jacket, I'm not really the style. I don't know. It's a weird thing in my brain. But this looks pretty decent itself. In black, it looks really nice as well. You got it there. You got some nice pants as well here featured. In white as well. Double knee pants. I gotta be honest. I'm over double knee pants. I'm not gonna lie. I'm fucking over double knee pants. I'm over double knee pants. I think they've been overdone. And yeah, I will not be wearing these. The overshirt. Oh, the padded overshirt. Look at that. That is gorgeous, bro. Nice boxy shape. Pinstripes. Purple and red. That's fucking beautiful. I'd wear the fuck out of that shit. It also comes in black. And it also comes in white. Yeah, that's one of the better pieces in there. That overshirt is fucking that's brilliant. There's also a Supreme zip up hooded sweatshirt, which is quite cool because this is one of the only pieces that says Margiela on it. It's got Margiela 6, Paris 6. That's pretty sick. And Supreme 994. So I think this will be very popular too because this is one of the only pieces that actually says Margiela. So a lot of people will actually buy this just because of the Margiela on the front. So that's pretty cool. Especially when you think about Margiela 6 as in like the Antwerp 6. I love that little twist on there. Continuing on. We've also got a box logo hoodie design. That's fucking cool. Which is also foil design. I would prefer actually it in the white. I don't really like the black. The black design isn't that great to me. I actually prefer it in white personally. The shorts. Oh, there's actually padded shorts as well. I love the padded shorts. Similar with the padded. Okay, cool. There's a shorts that come with a padded shirt. I'm not mad at that. There's a flame. What's that? Liquid. What's it called? Liquid blue oversized tee with the skulls on fire. Not too shabby. But this is probably the best. One of the best pieces in there. This box logo t-shirt. That's also got a t-shirt printed on top of it. Like that's fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. That's a fucking cool t-shirt. That's something that you probably hang on your wall. And I'm not somebody that likes to hang fucking streetwear on the wall and make streetwear into art. But that is something that I'd happily frame. That's fucking cool. That's really fucking cool. I really love that box logo t-shirt in white. That looks amazing. And then there's also the Hanes tank top that comes with the tank top attached on it on the inside. And what else do we have here? We have some... Oh, there's socks as well. There's socks. Wow. These are going to be really popular too. There's Margiela Supreme socks. These are going to be really popular. People are going to be crazy over these. Yeah, those are going to be really popular. The camp cat. I'm sorry. The camp cat is genius. Whoever did that is genius. The painted camp cat is genius because once that breaks, once that crackles, once you get some sweat stains in it and it starts to break up, it's going to look fucking cool. This when the box logo kind of peers through a bit, this is gonna look really cool. This painted camp cat is such a cool idea. I love it. I fucking love that. And obviously it's got a leather strap at the back as well. Nice leather strap buckle. Nice little detail there. Switch up from the usual camp cats. I love the look of that. And it also comes in black as well. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my god! Look at that. They've got a receipt wallet. That is so cool. Supreme NY. They've got a faux receipt wallet. So it looks like a receipt, but I'm assuming it's probably made out of leather or something. And it's made to look like a receipt and it's printed all the items on there. I'm assuming from the collection. And it's got a little rope that kind of ties it together. That is so cool. Wow, I love the look of that. That is so cool. That's also going to sell out pretty quickly. And obviously they've got Kryptonite. And look at that. Kryptonite Margiela Supreme bike lock or chain. Look at that, man. That is so fucking cool. I love the look of that also. And we've also got a wig. Love that wig. Love that fucking wig. Love that fucking wig. I'd definitely wear that. And we've also got the painted deck as well. I think the deck is fucking awesome. Love the look of that. Hoping it comes scratched up, but I'm assuming it doesn't. Maybe it's just like paint. Maybe it's just like covered. Maybe it's just painted over a red regular Supreme deck. And then when you ride it yourself, and you kind of grind all over it and shit, you have all these nice scratches and shit that will let the Supreme logo kind of peer through at the bottom, which is quite cool. To be honest, you could do it yourself. Just buy a regular Supreme deck and paint underneath it, I'm assuming. You could do that with any deck as well. That'd be quite a cool little thing to do if you skate often. Just get any skate deck and just paint it with some regular acrylic paint underneath. And obviously let it dry. And then when you go out and you're doing your fucking, your little slappies everywhere, it's going to be able to allow the kind of design to kind of peer through underneath there. I fucking love that. Yeah, but yeah, Supreme Margiela collection available tomorrow. Most of you are aware of that, so check it out if you're that way inclined. Absolutely banging. Absolutely banging. I'd wear every single piece of that blood clot shit. Okay? Every single piece. Now to end this lovely show today, I'm going to cover this topic because I feel like this is one of the most funniest headlines I've seen in a long time. And it concerns one of my favorite people in streetwear, bitch, you guessed it, Tremaine Emory. Tremaine Emory somehow said one of the most craziest sentences I've heard in my entire life. And I looked at his headline online. I saw it late on Twitter and I legitimately was crying laughing when I saw this headline. Headline courtesy of Complex. Converse didn't want Denim Tears to do a watermelon sneaker. So Tremaine is not content with having chicken bone necklaces. He's not content with having watermelon on his t-shirts, hot wing hoodies. I don't know what else he's fucking doing out there, right? He's not content with constantly reminding people about slavery on his clothes. Now he's hell-bent on these racial and somewhat racist motifs being adorned on fucking sneakers. He wants his next Converse collaboration to now be covered and adorned in watermelons. And it was fucking hilarious when I saw the headline. And I now want to listen to the actual clip because this was part of a conversation he had with Rick Rubin. He sat down with a podcast with Rick Rubin that spoke about, his career and whatnot. And it got into a topic about, collaborations and shit. And he kind of divulged some stuff about a collaboration that was meant to happen with Converse, but didn't happen because he wanted to put watermelons all over the sneaker. And I guess Converse were like, hey, we love you, but fuck no, we're not getting involved in this fucking conversation. So that headline was all over social media. Myself, other people were fucking laughing about it. But I'm assuming a lot of Tremaine haters were also using it as a chance to fucking hit him over the head and say, hey, you're charging people $800 for fucking chicken wing necklaces and shit. You're kind of, you're basically, shucking and jiving for the dollar out there and making a mockery out of our pain, out of our suffering and shit. For profit, we hate you. So he decided to jump on social media and defend himself. And I'm so pissed he deleted it. But Tremaine posted 2 pictures of like watermelon sneakers that Converse did in the past. And then the captions are fucking funny. Like, you're like, oh, I've read 150 books. Da, 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 da. I don't know. He was wilding out, right? And the replies, they were ripping into him. The replies were destroying him, but he didn't delete the 2 posts. So I'm so gutted I didn't fucking take screenshots of it. But Tremaine was going crazy on the timeline, really like really not reading the room and shit. But then he did post these pictures of these other watermelon sneakers that Converse did in the past to sort of like justify why it's okay for his brand that's steeped in, what's it called? It's a black diaspora brand or whatever the message is, right? Or some people are referring to it as a slavery brand. He's somehow relating the fact that he went through watermelon sneakers the same way as these nondescript generic watermelon Converse shoes that they did in the past, right? Converse, which is absolutely 2 different things. But regardless, I wanted to play the clip itself to hear exactly what Tremaine said, because I think maybe the Complex article that obviously I was referencing here, maybe this conflict article is somewhat skewing what he actually said. So let's actually go to the article. Let's actually go to the clip itself and see what Tremaine actually said, because maybe what Tremaine said, himself, is different than what Complex clickbaited with the headline. We can hope. We can only hope, because again, I'm a big fan of Tremaine. I know he does some fuck shit, but in general, I think he's a good guy. I think his heart is in the right place. It's just sometimes when it comes out a bit janky. So let's hear what Tremaine actually said when he sat down with Rick Rubin for his podcast and had a really expansive, long, 2-hour-esque conversation about everything that's going on in his career. So let's hear what he actually said here. Oh, it's not playing because I don't have the sound on, because I'm an idiot. Let's actually play it from the beginning here. So let's see what Tremaine has to say, and let's hear how he explains why Converse didn't want to do watermelon adorned Converse sneakers with him after, again, you have to imagine, after a very after a very charged pair of first Converse sneakers that he did, where he had the flag on there, and that was a collaboration that nearly didn't see the light of day. Finally got over the line because Tremaine kind of aired them out, and maybe they felt bad because of Black Lives Matter and shit, but they did the right thing in the end. To then come back and double back and then do watermelon sneakers is fucking cheeky, and it's fucking wild. To be honest, right? After you had such a hard time making Converse be okay with the first fucking Converse shoes that he did, right? Which, in retrospect were fairly inoffensive, but Converse weren't really too pleased or weren't really on board with putting these out in the first place, right? The first ones that he put out, right? But they eventually did do the right thing. So the fact that he wanted to then try his luck and push the fucking watermelon things is fucking wild. But let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear Tremaine talking to Rick Rubin about Converse not wanting to do watermelon sneakers. Let's fucking go.
I won't be able to be the best husband or father if I'm not fulfilled. Same for Andy, same for McCoy, same for everyone, So that is important, but not at the expense of, in my opinion, time with people you love,
Yeah.
You know what? We talked about fear a lot. It put not the fear of death for me. It put the fear of not spending what I feel is an adequate amount of time with people I respect, I care about, and love.
Understood.
That's so, because before I never feared death. Cause I'm like, why would I? I'm like, it's gonna happen. And the way my parents raised me. But I still don't fear death, but I fear not having enough time with Andy.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about he says that? Because I think Andy is his wife. He recently got married, so congratulations to Tremaine. But I think the funny thing about it when he says that is that I'm always reminded of Virgil. That was the thing that was so heartbreaking when the Virgil Abloh passed away. God bless the dead. Because obviously, having spent some time with Virgil when I was doing that streetwear course, and I was kind of, programming that online course for up and coming streetwear brands and shit, and I got to kind of speak to him a few times, and I got to actually work, with him and put some of those tutors together. One of the things that I realized quite quickly when I spent time with him was that he does spend a lot of time not with his family. He does spend a lot of time around randoms, right? Around clout chasers, around people trying to get their foot on the ladder. Just around random people, basically. And his entire career was spent on a plane, jetting from Chicago to Paris to Milan to New York, all over the place, right? He literally used planes like fucking Ubers and stuff, right? He was a consummate fucking professional, super hard worker. I never heard him complain, not even fucking once during the time I was with him, especially when we had to have him kind of flying all over the place to fucking do things for us and whatever it may be. But one of the things that really kind of broke my heart when he passed away, I was like, shit, man. I bet his family must feel so conflicted, because they never really had to have a lot of time with him as a dad, as a father, as a father, as a husband, as a partner, right? As a son. They never really got, as a brother, they never really got time to spend with him alone until the end of his life, when obviously he was getting more ill and he had to kind of stay at home and shit. That's the only time they had to spend time with him. And by then he probably wasn't maybe the same person or whatever it may be. I'm not really too sure. I wasn't there regardless, but that was the main thing that kind of really troubled me when he passed. It's like, fuck, man. He gave way more to us people, randoms in the world, in his last years of his life than probably he gave to his family. Because that last 5 to 10 year run of Virgil was insane, right? He went on a run. When he started Off-White until he got until he got the Louis Vuitton job, where he was just boom, boom, collab, drop, event, DJ. Like, he was going crazy. The amount of work he was putting out there, but something had to give. And I'm assuming, seeing his family was the thing that probably had to give. I'm assuming not seeing his wife as often as you probably wanted, not seeing his mum and dad as often as you wanted. That's a really heartbreaking thing about being successful or about chasing your dreams, right? About feeling like you have a purpose and, you're here for a reason and shit. Then other things kind of fall by the wayside, and then, you end up kind of losing a lot of time that you usually can't get back. So that's a really hard thing to kind of wrangle when you're kind of going for your dreams. Like, you have to be kind of conscious of that, some things are going to give, and it might be things that you can't necessarily get back, such as time.
Because she's like one of the most amazing people I ever met. So I have that fear, and the way I meet that fear is by letting her know how much I value her, what she's done for me, and even letting her know what she means to me, and then spending time and having fun.
Great.
Yeah. So that's what I learned. Same thing with McCoy. Same thing with A-Side. Same thing with Frazier and David, Chris, the friends. Even like with you. It's like we're cool, man.
Hey, yo, big up Koila. No. The free course isn't online. It was with a company called Mastered. Most of the videos that I helped put together, because the videos that I've got on my channel are the ones that I was responsible for kind of, curating. Because I was the ones that picked the fucking course, people that were on it, like Hypeline and stuff. So that's why I'm really proud of Hypeline, because Hypeline was on that course that I was that I kind of helped to kind of put together the curriculum for. He was one of the quote unquote students. So to see Hypeline doing what he's doing now is fucking brilliant. So all those videos that you see of Virgil mentoring certain brands, I was the one responsible for putting those videos together. I didn't record them obviously, but I put those people together and shit, and kind of spec'd out what they'll be talking about, how the review would be going, how the review would go in terms of the portfolio review, in terms of the brand review. So that's the real meat and potato of the course. So if you have a brand, if you're thinking of starting a brand, watch those videos, and that will tell you most of what you need to know. The rest of it is just like, stuff that you probably don't really care about, but the rest of it is the most of it. Oh yeah, Essence Ra, yeah, exactly. That's how I met. Exactly. Big up Essence Ra. Yes, exactly. Big up you know those master days were real. Big up Essence Ra. He was there. He was in the field. Big up Essence Ra. Bang your chest, brother.
And like, I could see someone that I'm really cool with, a friend, and it's like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna hit Rick when I'm in LA.
Yeah.
And if we can meet up, we can meet up. Yeah. So might not see you for a year again. Maybe we'll never see each other again. But we made time to see each other on this one, like we've done in the past. So that's what I try to do. You can't see everyone all the time, but within reason, I rotate it. And then I have my main concern is Andy. That's my number one thing.
Do you think of yourself as a spiritual person?
I don't, but then even what I'm about to say some could be considered spiritual. I think life is meaningless, and you put the meaning into it. And then you're like loved ones that you think you want to give to meaning to life. So
I agree with
maybe that is spiritual.
I agree with that.
I'm not well read in all the religions, but I know stuff from the Bible, from Buddhism, Joseph Campbell, Miyamoto Musashi, Five Rings, the Book of Five Rings, Tao Jeet Kune Do. Can go on and on. Comic books. That's what I say. Those are biblical to me. Comic books. That's stuff I've learned. You learn from comic books. Like the X-Men. Professor X was based off Martin Luther King, and Magneto was based off Malcolm X. And it was a Trojan horse to tell that story through these mutants.
We were kings. We were kings, right? Black people create everything. The pyramids, the modern banking structure. We were the basis of the X-Men. I love Tremaine, man. We were kings. We were kings. We were the first mutants. Okay? The first comic book superhero was fucking the Black Panther. Okay? Wakanda forever. Wakanda is actually a real place. It's in Johannesburg. That's Wakanda.
And the mutants represented African Americans in America. You know what I mean? So I've learned more from that than I learned from the Bible. But just only because I've read more comic books than I've read the Bible. So, I'm agnostic. And when people hear that, I think they think atheist, and it's not. I don't subscribe to any religion or that there's an omnipotent being with human
Or that there's not.
or that there's not, yeah. Or that omnipotent being has human traits. Because that's the thing about humans. We're like, humans as a whole, we're narcissists, and we're like, it's like someone sees an alien, it kind of looks human.
Yeah.
And
When we look at clouds, we see faces.
We see faces because it's like, whereas does a dog see a face in a cloud? No, maybe probably not. I'll tell you this. I felt spiritual the first time I saw the sun after being in the ICU for a month.
Yeah.
I realized that the sun that I hadn't seen in a month from being in my hospital room and the sun that I thought I never was going to see again was the same that sun that shined on every living being, everything that's lived in the Milky Way, this universe, our galaxy, the Earth, the dinosaurs, my mom who's no longer here.
Same sun.
The same sun. It shined on every living organism that has ever spurned from the Earth to the last one. The sun, that same sun that I hadn't saw, that I took for granted.
Yeah.
I felt that connection when I felt the sun in my wheelchair with my shades on, and I took my shades off and I started crying. Chris was there, and my other friend Chris was there. I remember, texting Andy the picture and my dad. So I guess I am spiritual.
It must have been pretty wild, though, isn't it? Imagine the fear you have, because Tremaine, I think, was ill just around the same time that Virgil passed away. So you can imagine how scary that must have been. Your best friend passes away, and then you have this debilitating illness where you're nearly on death's, you're at death's door. That must have been fucking scary also, because you think, fuck, now my time is up as well, and I haven't done anything I wanted to do just yet. You're like, shit. That's the way life comes at you is fucking crazy, isn't it? 1 minute you're all fucking popping bottles in Paris, Fashion Week and shit, celebrating your friend becoming the fucking creative director of Louis Vuitton. The next minute you're at his funeral, and then the next minute you're on a fucking hospital bed. Yikes.
Maybe not by the textbook definition.
Definitely.
For me, my religion, I find religion in people. People that I connect with, I find religion in the relationship. So I found religion in a relationship with A-Side. I found religion in my relationship with my friend Frazier. And I think I found my highest religion in my relationship with Andy.
So I guess religion ultimately is about connection.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, connection. You know what, though? The one thing I'll say, which hasn't been said about the whole thing with me and Supreme, when I really think about it, and my friend Jim.
I'm not going to lie, hopefully he said something good here, because he's been pretty... I loved how he's kind of had a little bit more time to think about the Supreme thing. And the last interview that I watched, where he was sitting down with that Angelo Back guy from Awake, he did sound quite grown up, and he did take some level of accountability, because I thought that was the one thing that just was so annoying when he was first moaning about the Supreme thing. Yes, shit goes wrong. We all know it. Yes, sometimes things can be unfair, but based on the information we have available, based on what he said, based on the statements that Supreme put out, read between the lines, it sounds like both sides had a part to play in that not working out. But the way Tremaine was crying about it, it made it seem as if Supreme were out here like the fucking Ku Klux Klan. Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, brother. Yes, they might not be as progressive as they purport to be. Cool. But let's not make it out as if you were working for fucking, Antifa or something. Do you know what I mean? Let's fucking relax. So I was happy to hear him be a little bit more mature, grown up, and chilled out about the whole thing, and actually be a bit more grown up about the situation. And now that some time has passed, and maybe he's become a bit more, even way more successful than he was prior to taking Supreme Joke. That's a good thing as well. His career and Denim Tears has only gone up, right, since that time. So maybe that, maybe wiping your tears with a couple $100 bills, or knowing that your brand is now established and you got a real demand out there for you in the streets and shit. I saw recently a fucking picture or a video of somebody that fucking vinyl wrapped their car in, the cotton reef design of Denim Tears all over their fucking pickup truck, or the SUV, sorry, right? And not even a nice SUV. I think it was like a random Toyota or something. I was like, shit. Somebody put that all over a fucking Land Cruiser or whatever it may be. So clearly his brand's going great. So I'll hopefully in this segment, he doesn't say anything fucked up about Supreme, and he doesn't go back to being the victim again. Let's see what he says. Let's see how he kind of, talks about the Supreme situation.
Jimmy illuminated to me was the issue between me and Supreme was I don't really get uncomfortable about talking about anything. And the top brass there was uncomfortable to talk to me about that imagery.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You see, I see what he's saying, but that's the issue. When you work in a corporation, you have to conduct yourself differently. There is a professional way of conducting yourself and professional way of talking to your colleagues. Unfortunately, I think for him, he has his own brand that's very successful where he does everything. He is the main honcho. He's the one that founded it. It's his baby. He can do it. He can say and does whatever he pleases. So how he conducts himself with his own brand, he thought he could transpose that into working at Supreme. It's not the same thing. And maybe he thought also because of the store and because of the people that he knows behind the scenes, he assumed the office culture will be the same. But clearly, from what he's talking about and reading between the lines, it sounds like the Supreme working culture, maybe because of the brand, I forgot who the brand is that bought them, but maybe because the brand that bought Supreme, I'm not sure, maybe because how it was before, but it seems like the office culture in Supreme is more similar to like a regular corporation than it is like a startup, than it is like a small DIY brand where everyone's kind of like ha ha he he music play. Like it's not. It's just like a regular office. So I think he just hasn't been used to being in a regular working environment in a while because he's been doing his own thing for a long time and he didn't know how to conduct himself. But I don't think that is an issue of because I'm just comfortable about talking about things and I'm the most comfortable. I don't have a filter. It's more so because he didn't have to conduct himself in a professional environment. And then I guess the Supreme side of things, the things they got wrong, there's that they didn't tell him the expectations of what they didn't tell him what they expected of him in the workplace. You know what I mean? They just let him kind of do his thing, and then they weren't man enough to kind of pull him to a side and say, "Hey, you're doing this and this wrong." They just kind of let it kind of play out, and obviously, by that time, the relationship already crumbled, and it kind of ended how it ended. That's my interpretation. I could be wrong, but that's my interpretation.
And them wanting to change it out or not use it, and when people get uncomfortable and have fear gets in them, that's when mistakes and miscommunications and feelings and shit goes awry. And they didn't. I guess they just didn't have it in them to even have the conversation, which is all. Again, go back to the Converse thing, the discourse. Because even you asked me if I ever have been censored. Yes. There was another shoe I was going to do at Converse with my friend artist Dan Colin, and he has a farm called Scott.
Oh, Dan Colin was involved. Yeah, big up Dan Colin. Dan Colin's the original. What were they fucking called? What were they fucking called? The name of them? But that was during the time when Aaron Bondaroff was around. That was during the time when Dashno was around. Dan Colin is more famous known for the candle painting. It's an amazing painting. It's mostly in blue, in oil paint, of a candle, and the flame is just about to go out, and there's smoke billowing. It's an amazing, massive, big piece. He also done, what else did he do? I don't think, no, he didn't do Bird's Nest. I think Dashno did Bird's Nest. That amazing piece where it was like a big white room and it was all covered in fucking bits of paper mache and stuff. I don't know, bits of paper. I think newspapers that was kind of shredded, and it was almost like a bird's nest. It was all flying around the place, and they did like live band shows and stuff in there, whatever it may be. But Dan Cullen is an original member of that kind of downtown, Lower East Side art crew from back in the day that I remember kind of following online for a lot of time. And I think he recently got sober and then opened up that farm that also does merch and shit and whatever it may be. And I think they put out some boots recently as well. I think they call like Sky High something farm. I forgot what they called. So, well, yeah, but big up Dan Cullen, absolute legend in the scene.
Our farm, and we're exploring stuff with food and design and black food. So we're going to do a Converse of a watermelon rind, the skin of a watermelon. So Converse felt that was controversial, and they felt it could be.
Converse thought it was controversial. No, we all thought it was controversial, brother. Not only Converse, everybody thought it was controversial. Imagine, after coming off the back of what he's coming off the back of, he wants to now do a Converse with watermelon. By the way, this is the Dan Cullen painting. I don't know if you can see it there, right? What is it? It's Dan Cullen. What's the painting called? Let me see if I can find it. It's fucking beautiful, man. Okay, it's at the Gagosian. Let's see if we can see. Dan colon Danny Boy colon Gagosian. Let's see if we can find his fucking website on here. Gagosian. Because that painting with the fucking blue flames is absolutely beautiful. One of my favorites ever. Yeah, he's one of my favorite artists. I've always been a big fan of his. Him, Lucian Smith, obviously Dash No, R.I.P. to the dead. He's one of my favorites as well from back in the day. But these are some of Dan Cullen's artworks here. Let's actually just accept this fucking label here. Let's go through some of them. I think the candle painting is definitely here somewhere. Was it done in maybe 2007? 2008, I think, if I'm assuming right. Let's see if I can find it. It's a candle in a vase. But loads of these pieces of artwork here. As you can see, you know, your standard contemporary art shit, right? But the painting is one of my favorite pieces from him. Definitely is. Let's see if we can find it on here. If it loads up in time. We're scanning through. Chewing on one. Painting lines. Oh, look at that. Look at that piece with the motorcycles all over laying on the floor side by side. That's pretty cool, isn't it, right? Cracks in the Cloud, it's called. Amazing piece there. Let's continue with the wall of the brick wall. We've got this bridge motif looking type of thing. Yeah, that's the one. That's my favorite Dan Cullen piece. What's it called? It's called Whatever. Oil on canvas. That is fucking gorgeous, man. Look at that. What a beautiful painting. One of my favorite ever Dan Cullen. That's a really, really good piece. So yeah, big up Dan Cullen. Absolute fucking legend.
Interpreted as racist, right? Because of minstrel imagery in the past of blacks and watermelons.
I'm assuming they thought it was racist more so because you know what they thought was, you know what's funny about this? I'm assuming Converse were a bit edgy and a bit nervous about doing a collaboration, not because of the watermelon minstrel history, but more so because of Denim Tears and the brand and what he basically pushes out there, right? Because it's mostly a brand that talks about the black struggle in a weird way, right? It's not really, but it kind of is a, you know, a brand where he's not afraid to talk about, you know, racial issues and shit. So I'm assuming they thought it would hit way worse with it being Denim Tears and with the controversy that they did in the past than it would just being an isolated Converse collaboration with some watermelons on it. I don't think they have an issue making Converses that just have watermelons all over the shoes because clearly they did it in the past, right? They've done it in the past. They can do this, but they just don't want to do it with him because they know how it would look. And they don't want that smoke. Why would you want that smoke for free? Makes no sense. He's just doing it by himself. I think Tremaine is already at a level now, or Denim Tears is at a level now, where they should be able to make their own shoes. I know shoes are the most expensive thing to make, or to manufacture, or to produce in the clothing industry world. But if this is the place that he's at now, where all these brands don't want to particularly have these racy images attached to their, or, you know, inspirations or themes attached to their shoes, you have to start making your own shit, I'm assuming, and kind of going that way, probably, I would assume. But again, then you take more risk involved, because then you end up with a whole bunch of dead stock of those shoes that don't sell. Yeah, I mean, it could really you know, affect the future of your brand. Let's continue.
But the thing is, I never...
Were these white people who were concerned about it being racist?
Both.
Okay.
Black and white people.
Okay.
But the difference...
Shouldn't that tell you everything? If black and white people, or if not only white people, but black people are also concerned, shouldn't that tell you that maybe you're going in the wrong direction? Or maybe this is not the right place for this, or whatever? Shouldn't that tell you everything? If other black people are like, you know what I mean?
So the situation was, they called me, they told me they weren't down, they didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They were uncomfortable with the imagery,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to do it, but they weren't uncomfortable with having the conversation.
Right. They were
Okay.
Straight up, and we had the conversation. They said, we're not going to put these out. And I was like, you guys are kind of wasting my time.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are...
See, this is the thing I don't like about Tremaine. So he wants a conversation. He's not afraid to have the conversation. Converse make it very clear they don't want to do the watermelon sneakers with you, right? They don't want to do the fucking plantation fucking ones. All right, cool. But then he's upset that they wasted his time. That's how collaborations work. There's a back and forth, there's a negotiation, there's conversations. It doesn't, they didn't want to say no outright. If they say no outright, you have an issue with it. If they talk it through and they think about it, then they get back to you and then say no and explain why, you don't have an issue because they wasted your time. And then it's Supreme give you the cold shoulder and don't talk to you at all, or give you as a false promises or whatever it may be. That's also an issue. It's like, come on, bro. If anything, this is more of a lesson in kind of not reading the room. I think in corporate environments, in work environments, people should need to say things to you. No one needs to tell you, hey, put your phone away. No one should need to tell you, hey, be at your desk with the computer open, working at 9. Not you're at the kitchen with your coffee cup and you're walking to the table at 9. No, you have your thing open at 9. No one should tell you, hey, make sure that you leave at like 5:03, 5:01. Don't start closing your computer at like 4:55 and then leaving on a dot because it looks kind of bad. No one has to tell you these things. You should be able to surmise and clock it yourself. Some things don't need to be said. And if they are said, it actually makes you look worse because it means that you don't really have any you don't really have any understanding of your environment. You don't really clock things. Things need to always be written to you in black and white. You're a little bit head in the cloud thing. So I think in this regard, it's showing up Tremaine's inability to work with people. And if anything, this should remind you why, again, not to mention him because it's a bit weird to mention him in this context, but this is why Virgil was such a freak. And this is why Virgil should always be celebrated and lauded, because he had the ability to navigate these environments. He could always navigate it. Maybe he still had his issues, cool, but he always found a way to make the collaborations with the corporations work. He could always fucking knock them down, right? Whether it was fucking with Bic, whether it was fucking with IKEA, whoever it would be. He knew how to navigate the fucking, treacherous waters of working with corporations and suits and C-suite people. Whereas with this guy, he finds it very difficult to kind of acquiesce. Maybe it's the deep down embedded artist in him and just wants to be able to do what he wants to do and have no restrictions, have no notes, have no feedback. Who knows? But it has to be a bit of a to and fro. There's be a little bit of understanding of your environment, who you're in, whatever. I don't know. There's a lack of that going on there, which is a little bit concerning, but I guess it is what it is.
Aiding and abetting, which you think you're protecting.
Yep.
But cool. And that's why I never posted anything like, Converse has done something wrong.
Do you ever get the feeling when something like that happens, you ever feel like I'm going to find another
I never posted anything. Of course you shouldn't post anything. They didn't do anything wrong. Why would you post anything? They didn't do anything wrong. And that blackmail social media thing only works once. He did it once, right? He kind of, hey, they don't want to put out my thing without my flag, blah, blah, blah. And Converse acquiesced, they put it out. Cool. But you can only do that thing once. You can't do it all the time. Especially off the back of him, looking like a victim or using the victim card all the time to kind of get his way. You can't do it all the time. So you had no right, there's no reason to air them out because Converse did nothing wrong.
Way to get these shoes out?
My whole thing was, it was like that silhouette of the Chuck and then working with Dan and Sky High Farm and telling that. I have art and things I've made with that imagery of the watermelon. It's going to come out in different places.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so it will come out. But again, did they censor me? I guess, but they talked to me.
Yeah.
They didn't censor you. Censoring would be they put it out, but they changed the watermelon to a fucking orange. Or they put it out and they censored the watermelon. They didn't put them out. That's not censoring. Censoring is putting it out and then obviously not putting it out the way that you wanted it to be put out. In this regard, they just declined to go through with the collaboration because it didn't align with their vision or their goals, made them feel uncomfortable. They didn't want to get put into some sort of political or social, racial conversation. They didn't want the smoke. They didn't want to be a part of the fucking narrative on the timeline. Whatever the reason is, they just didn't want to do it. But that isn't censoring, in my personal opinion.
We were able to have discourse. We disagreed, but it was fine in the end because I respected that they have a right to make a choice as a company to not want to put it out. And they respected me by hearing me out why I feel we should. And we talked about it and moved on, And I guess.
Exactly, NJ Ranger. From one point of view, who the fuck am I as a white dude to tell someone how to express their black stories? On the other hand, hell no watermelon shoes, that's about to make bank off. Exactly. But the thing that's different in this is that you're collaborating with an entity, with a brand in Converse. Converse have their own vision, they have their own ideas, they have their own principles, they have their own goals, whatever, or things that they want to represent or not represent. They're well within their right to decide which brands they want to align with for better or worse. They shouldn't have their arm bent behind their back and forced to work with people just to look like they're on the quote unquote right side of history. If it doesn't align with their beliefs, their morals, their principle, whatever, they shouldn't do it. Simple as that. And in this regard, they've already done a collaboration with him previously that went somewhat well. I don't think it was super successful because I think a lot of the shoes sat, unfortunately. But it was a well put together project. It did actually speak very well to the brand and what Tremaine's story he's trying to tell. Cool. They just didn't want to do that again. That's perfectly okay. And again, I'm not too sure if that's again. I'm not too sure if this is a second collaboration, if this is a collaboration that happened at the start, or if this is the same thing happened at the same time. I don't know where in the timeline this falls. But regardless, I don't think Converse should be judged because they decided not to put out the watermelon sneakers. It's not as if they're like anti-black because they did that. It's just they just decided they didn't want to put out that particular collaboration because they just felt uncomfortable doing so. They didn't align with the messaging. It wasn't something they wanted to do. They decided to pass on it. They communicated to him. No harm done.
Because we had that situation with the Pan-African shoes and it went well. And I was happy with the outcome of that and donating the money to Black Voters Matters. And so that's the thing where it's like, I'm not about getting my way. I'm about discourse. And then
I disagree with that. I think you are a little bit about getting your way, which is not a bad thing because that's how you have to be successful. You kind of have to be a little bit steadfast and a bit, strong and not easily kind of swayed when it comes to your opinion and your point of view on things. But let's call a spade a spade. You are about getting your own way. Come on, Tremaine. You know what I mean? When you don't get your own way, you're not happy. You're not a happy camper. Let's be real.
Wherever the chips fall, I'm okay with that, as long as the talk happens. Yeah. I won't be able to be the best husband.
Anyway, that is it. Tremaine Emory explaining exactly why Converse decided not to put out the watermelon sneakers that he was so desperate to put out, which would have been funny off the back of everything that's happened recently with the chicken bone fucking necklaces, the watermelon Comme des Garçons collaboration wallet he's going to put through. I really want him to do a hoodie or a t-shirt with like hot wings and chicken and waffles or something. Or like with grape juice or something. I would want him to do to really go hard in the paint and do something like that. I was actually even more surprised when I didn't see him collaborate with Andre 3000. He did the collaboration, I think, with what's that thing called? Ceramic something. I forgot the fucking name of the brand. I was actually surprised that Andre 3000 didn't collaborate with Denim Tears in that regard and do some sort of like super high powered black power type of collaboration with Andre 3000. But regardless, I like Denim Tears still. I still like Tremaine. I think he's a necessary person within the scene and within the industry nowadays, especially considering he's come up and shit. I like the way he does things. I like how unapologetic he is in the way he does things. I don't maybe agree with the approach, but I do appreciate his presence, and I think it's incredibly valuable, incredibly necessary nowadays, given the landscape of design, given the landscape of streetwear, given the landscape of fashion, and just given the landscape societally and culturally going on right now. Someone that looks and talks like him is incredibly necessary nowadays, and definitely gives a lot of kids coming up something to aim for and an example of like what you can do if you have the right kind of idea, vision, and you kind of steadfast in the things that you do going forward. So I don't have an issue with that in the slightest. So big up Tremaine. Cool little interview there. Check it out. Rick Rubin and Tremaine talking about all those good stuff. Anyways, my friends, that has been the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 757. Thanks so much for tuning in to the episode of Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 757. It's been a pleasure to have your company. Thank you for joining me. It really fucking has. To end the show, those of you listening to the audio podcast, you will hear the wonderful Tyla, the track titled Truth or Dare, courtesy of her recent album, the same name, self-titled Tyla album, called Tyla Album. You're going to hear the outro track. It's called Truth or Dare, which is track 4 of the album, Tyla. Check it out. It's available right now, all your digital streaming platforms. Fucking amazing. You know Tyla, she used to get out, did the Water song, but don't don't pigeonhole her based off that one song. The entire album is fucking full of slaps. It fucking makes you feel sexy. It fucking makes you want to dance. It's a good vibe, very happy feeling. So definitely check it out. It's fucking amazing. Tyla, Truth or Dare, playing now as the outro. And for those of you waiting for the random show, we're going to be back again. Random show later on tonight. I've got a computer situation I'm going to be working on, so that should be pretty good. So there shouldn't be any issues with that in terms of streaming and watching videos and stuff. So a random show will be happening later on tonight. So don't delay. Come back later on tonight. I'm going to schedule that as well. Probably about 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. my time. Random show is happening. Thank you for those of you checking out and hanging out with me. I appreciate you so much. Agostinho Zinga Show episode number 757. Peacing out. Hell yeah. Take care, my friends. I'll see you soon. Take care. Take fucking care. Peace.